One of the great Nuchamore classics, Sin Hogu, Without You. Eric Bora and the gang. Good morning, Guam. Morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
How was your night last night? How was your day? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
It's great. We're good then.
All right, I know. Well, you were talking about that Fortnite pack. That's what my kids were talking about Fortnite yesterday. Now I get it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just know that my son was like, "Mom, wake me up at 4 o'clock. It's a Fortnite thing." I'm like, "What Fortnite thing?" I got to download this Fortnite.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I have no
So
idea.
That's how you get them to wake up at 4 in the morning. It's Containing COVID 621. Good morning on you. Sabrina Salas Mentanani. My name is Chris, and it is the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite KUAM FM in Agutnia. We're 93.9 FM. Good morning. It's Containing COVID, and it's all proudly brought to you by Cowboy Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. It's 4 hours real information in real time, and as always, we got a giant, huge show for you guys. We'll be talking to some people from the daycares, find out how the first day open was for them, and can they make money opening at the capacity that they're allowed to, as instructed by public health and the governor. We'll find out. Also, movie theaters. Yes, movie theaters also slated to open this week, but they won't be opening this week. Spoiler alert. We'll find out exactly when our favorite movie theater chain will be opening their doors for you. Also, we'll talk to Senator Joseph Augustine about this Castle Doctrine expansion. They had a public hearing yesterday, and it appears they're...
Stand your ground law.
Yeah, people taking sides already at the legislature, so that's going to be interesting to talk to Senator San Augustine. All that and a whole lot more right here on Containing COVID at 622 like we always do. Let's start the day with a dive into the COVID-19 headlines. And from the KUAM News team with the very latest. Good morning, Sabrina Salas Mantanani.
Off day, good morning, everyone. We begin with the latest numbers. 44 tests were run through Public Health's lab and 0 returned positive. The count of COVID cases on Guam remains at 185 with 5 deaths, 169 recoveries, and 11 active cases. Expanded community testing resumes today at the PD Mayor's office from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Tomorrow, testing will be conducted at the Santa Rita Senior Center from 1 to 4 p.m. Again, you do not have to have symptoms. It is free, and you are asked to bring an ID. The governor's office announcing the current list of hotspot countries that will determine whether upon arrival you will be subject to a mandatory 14-day quarantine at a government facility. They are Africa, Middle East, South America, Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Philippines, and Nepal. Those who traveled, including layovers in hotspot locations within the past 2 weeks prior to arrival on Guam, are considered to be at higher risk and are subject to quarantine at a government quarantine facility. On Monday, the Guam Department of Labor started in-person appointments for those that have yet to apply for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Programs. And in partnership with the Guam Public Library System, GDOL also started a roving pool processing center at the Dedado Library yesterday. The roving processing center will now be held at the Hagåtña Library today from 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Please note that no walk-ins will be accepted, social distancing guidelines will be enforced, and the first 2 hours will be prioritized for veterans, Menumco, and persons with disabilities. The appointment call center lines for the PUA, main processing center, and libraries are 988-3672, 788-0729, and 689-1872. Need to apply or renew your Real ID driver's license starting this Saturday? Rev Tax Barragata main office will be open on a walk-in basis. The office will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. for Menumco, veterans, and individuals with disabilities, and everyone else from 8 a.m. to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, that starts this Saturday in Barricada. The Guam Education Board is reviewing the draft of the department's plans to reopen public schools with students returning on August 12th. A GDOE task force has been created, and the group presented a proposal to the board. According to GEB Committee on Safe and Health Schools Chairman John Birch, the plan is to have an A, B, C, and repeat schedule that allows for different clusters of students to come onto campus on separate days. There will be a 1/3 occupancy limit for each classroom at a time. Birch says at this point they are working with the Department of Public Works to figure out which site of groups or clusters of students need to be picked up and transported on a daily basis. Birch adding students will be going in 3 categories. Those in Category A, for example, will come to school Monday, and those in Category B Tuesday, and Category C on Wednesday, and then it repeats. Birch says online courses are the most preferred method, but some students do not have reliable internet access, and this will likely result in a hybrid of online and in-class lessons. The board plans to meet again on June 30th to vote on a finalized plan. Senators passed 8 bills on Monday, meeting briefly just to vote. One of the key measures approved was a government health insurance choice bill by Senator Jose Pito Terlahi and Speaker Tina Muñoz Barnes. It went through 3 different iterations before passing by a narrow 8-6 margin. Senator Jim Moylan recused himself because of family ties to a health insurance company. Another measure passed was by Senator Joe San Agustin, which raises to $250,000 the amount of revenue certain businesses can make before paying GRT. And Senator Amanda Shelton's bill that provides $500 in COVID relief assistance to families with young adults and persons with disabilities. Republicans were critical of the bill, saying the legislature could not dictate how federal funds are spent. They also argued that the governor already has the power to implement such a program. A bill to establish a stand your ground law drew strong reactions from opposing sides that essentially reflect the national debate over gun rights. Nestor Lecanto reports.
Guam already has a Castle Doctrine law which allows you to protect yourself with justifiable deadly force within the confines of your own home. The measure by Senator Joe San Agustin would extend that same right to public places. The arguments for and against are similar to the long-standing debate over the Second Amendment. Andrew Terlahi spoke out against the bill.
Everyday citizens do not have the training of public safety officers and might not understand the meaning of meeting force with force. We have trained public safety officers to do the job. We do not need any of our citizens taking the law into their own hands with this Stand Your Ground bill.
Terlahi and others representing the social worker community point to statistics that show such a law enacted in other places has led to more violence and has not served as a deterrent. But supporter of the measure David Silva says it's about the right to defend yourself and your family.
This is absolutely not about deterrence. It's about defense. It's about allowing the people who lawfully carry a weapon, who follow the rules of law, and allow them to defend themselves in the proper way. If you're in a place that you expect to be safe, when you're walking with your family at sunset in Tuman near the Hyatt between the hotels and it's dark and someone accosts you on the beach, it's those situations that you have to allow somebody the tools to properly defend themselves.
But most of the testimony was in opposition to the bill, with some even calling on senators to repeal the Castle Doctrine law. Author Senator San Agustin says he looks forward to a floor debate. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Turning to regional news, we bring in our Tomas Manglotnia, who is reporting live from Saipan. Hi, Tomas.
Good morning, Bree and Chris. Here's the latest making news from the CNMI Rep. LJ Castro's office is planning to provide document copying help for his Precinct 1 constituents applying for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and the FPUC. We caught up with him and the local rep yesterday after the House session. Take a listen to this clip.
Assistance that your office is offering?
Okay, so of course the PUA and FPUC application process starts this week. Of course, we were privy to the orientation that happened this morning. So what our office is offering for constituents is the opportunity, just like how in previous disasters where certain offices or FEMA would open up services for document copying. in order to get emergency funding and what forth. So the PUA and FPUC, we figured, and my staff figured, why don't we apply that principle also to those applying for PUA and FPUC assistance. So pretty much for the entire period that the application process is open from Wednesday to the end of the application process, which is in late December. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we're offering for those who need help with copying their documents or digitizing their documents, so to come on up to the office, and our staff can assist you. I'm going to be offering that 2 days a week, from 9 to 2 every day. It's not because we want to limit the amount of people that show up, but it's just so that way, in regards to everything that's going on with the social distancing protocols, it allows us, to prepare the office for when when constituents come in, and same to prepare for the next day when we need our constituents in when they make appointments. So the main thing how this goes is that you contact our office and we take your name. I give you a time when you want to come in and utilize our copiers, our fax machines, our scanners, and that's how we'll go about with it. I know that sometimes for situations like this, the traffic can be very substantial. So this is a way of kind of limiting one, because of the fact that we're still practicing those protocols.
And news from the Sinai Governor's Office: late yesterday, Governor Torres renews the public health emergency for the Sinai due to COVID-19 for another 30 days. Also announcing that we are now moving to level blue in recovery. That means that curfew hours are now 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Other amendments to the Emergency Directive 10 also include some major changes, including gatherings of no more than 25 people in a single room or single space are permitted throughout the Commonwealth. And church services must limit attendance to 50% now of allowed occupancy and maintain social distancing and sanitation guidelines. And turning to news from the governor's authorized representative, some $14 million of the close to $40 million in FEMA reimbursement requests for the COVID-19 response has officially been submitted as of yesterday, according to the Sinai governor's authorized representative, Patrick Guerrero, at a media briefing yesterday. He notes that the initial amount of money accounts for medical supplies, test kits, PPEs, and other consumables. Guerrero explained that in a non-pandemic situation, it would normally take 2 to 3 weeks for funds to be awarded. He added that the remaining balance of funds is related to the PAC Hotel Quarantine Facility, Kanoa Resort Isolation Facility, and alternate care site. He says they also take into account costs from Homeland Security in relation to labor, meals, and logistics that are pending review. And here are the latest numbers from the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's dashboard. The CNMI remains at 30 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and Saipan has tested so far 7,155 people. Tinian has tested 458 people, and 556 people have been tested on the island of Rota, so totaling up to more than 8,000 people so far tested in the community-based program. Brian Chris, that's the latest making news here in the CNMI.
Thanks, Tomas. The government is asking the court for a writ of removal for Inigo Philbrick from the District Court of Guam to the Southern District of New York. On April 30th, U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York filed a complaint charging Philbrick with 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of aggravated identity theft. A warrant was out for his arrest, and on June 12th, Philbrick was arrested and transported to Guam for violating his supervised release petition. He's accused of conspiring a defraud scheme to finance his art dealing business from 2016 to 2019. According to unsealed court documents, throughout the course of the plot, Philbrick, in works with the art finance company based in Manhattan, defrauded clients for more than $20 million. After hours of arguments from both parties in District Court, Lucille Torres' sentencing hearing was pushed back for a second time. Defense counsel Curtis Vandeveld fought for his client to receive less time behind bars. Torres entered a plea agreement for her role in a major conspiracy to smuggle drugs from California to Guam back in 2017. Torres went into cooperation with the government, and because of this, Vandeveld feels the worthiness of her cooperation is higher than the government's assessment. U.S. Assistant Attorney Laura Sambataro brought forth case agents to testify in detail the multiple drug investigations Torres has cooperated in. Torres faces 5 years with 3 years of supervised release. Ultimately, the court continued sentencing to next month, with further discovery to be exchanged on Monday, June 22nd. In national news, a major victory in the battle for LGBTQ rights. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled Monday that the federal law protecting workers on the basis of sex also applies to transgender people. Natalie Brand has a story from Washington, D.C.
In a landmark decision for LGBTQ rights, the Supreme Court ruled employers cannot discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. In a 6-3 ruling, the nation's highest court made it clear the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that bars discrimination on the basis of sex, race, color, origin, or religion protects gay and transgender workers.
It's been a long journey, but we finally made it here.
We interviewed plaintiff Gerald Bostock when he traveled to Washington for oral arguments last October. He says he lost his job in Clayton County, Georgia, after joining a gay softball league.
I did nothing wrong, and now I have some validation in that.
Bostock's was one of 3 cases heard at the court that day. Amy Stevens, who says she was fired for being transgender, wrote a statement before passing away last month, saying in part, "I am glad the court recognized that what happened to me is wrong and illegal."
We can go to work and not have to be in fear that being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender will now be a blank check for employers to discriminate against us.
Sharon McGowan of Lambda Legal has been litigating these cases for more than 15 years. She says the significance of today's ruling, it will create a uniform standard nationwide.
It doesn't matter whether you work in Illinois or Missouri. It doesn't matter whether or not you are in Ohio or Indiana. You will now have the full protection of federal law.
Justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Brett Kavanaugh dissented. Justice Kavanaugh wrote, "We are judges, not members of Congress. Our role is not to make or amend the law." But in the majority opinion, Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote, "An employer who fires an individual merely for being gay or transgender defies the laws." Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Banking 671 report, ATM skimmers have increasingly become discovered throughout the world. In a typical arrangement, skimmers capture payment card data from the magnetic strip on the back of cards inserted into an ATM, while a pinhole spy camera hidden above or beside the pin pad records timestamped video of cardholders entering their pins. This data allows thieves to fabricate new cards and use pins to withdraw cash from victims' accounts. Here are ways to protect yourself. 1, scrutinize the ATM. This means every ATM, even those from your bank. Check the card reader. If the reader does not match the color and style of the machine, is loosely or oddly fitted, it might be a skimmer. You should shake the card reader to check if there's something attached. Cover the keypad when entering your PIN in order to access your bank accounts. Thieves need to have your card number and your PIN. By covering the keypad, you prevent cameras and onlookers from seeing it. Check your bank and credit card statements often. If you suspect any fraudulent activity, contact your financial institution immediately. Be choosy. Don't use countertop ATMs at bars or restaurants. These are not monitored and can be easily tampered. If you discover a skimmer and or a pinhole camera, call the number on the ATM to report it or contact law enforcement immediately. Do not touch the device. Criminals are known to canvass the area where their skimmers are installed. If they see you removing their devices, they are likely to approach you and take it back, which may be by force. That is your Banking 671 report, brought to you by the Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, thank you very much, Sabrina.
Welcome.
Can
do you
you
do
go-
that? Do you
what?
do that when you go to the ATM? Do you shake the thing?
I don't go to the ATM.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, that was fast.
All right. Okay. Well, I
but
do.
I remember long time ago, showing my age, but probably like 1993 or 4. I remember I went to the Bay Area, and I was in Oakland, and I had to get money out of the ATM, and there was actually a button on the ATM when you stick in your card, and it was like 911 automatic call. So I guess if anything goes down, you press that button on the ATM, and it automatically calls 911.
Oh, 83? Did you say 83?
No, I said 93.
Oh, I was gonna
Jeez.
say 83.
Let's shake, girl.
Whoa.
Whoa there. What are you trying to throw me under the Monuncle bus?
Huh. We are old.
Yeah, I know. I own it. Yeah, but that was back then. And then when I went to watch my daughter graduate last year, Oakland's like all, what do they call it? Gentrified. Yes, we pushed out the riffraff. So that was interesting. 6:40. Can you go back to that story about that New York art thing? I was kind of, what was that about? This Philbrick guy.
I guess they picked him up here, and they're going to extradite him back to New York. They had a hearing yesterday in the district court, but he had some sort of art dealing scam going on, and it was like $20 million that he profited from.
An art dealing scam?
Something like that.
That sounds like a movie, right, Kenny? That sounds like it'd be a cool movie.
Yep.
How they came into Guam. I wonder if there are any local
I don't
artists
think he was doing the crime here. Well, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
I have to go through the court documents. I think it was almost like 20 pages. And I was like, here you go, Adriana.
He does kind of look like an art heisty kind of guy. On the mugshot? Yeah, on the mugshot.
There was a mugshot?
Yeah,
oh,
I think there was. I thought I saw one. 6:41. Let's go to the phones here. We'll kick it off with Joe Cameron, who's a GovGuam retiree for Choice, and I know you've been following this Choice health insurance bill. Joe, were you pleased with the outcome yesterday? It was an 8-6 vote, a little closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, I think it was a good day for the retirees and for also the active employees of this government. I did get a call, or several calls, by different senators yesterday. And
before or after the vote?
Before the vote. Can you believe that?
Oh.
And I was thinking, I was at the doctor's clinic because I had some procedures yesterday, and before I could even get any x-rays done, lo and behold, I was being stopped from going in because I was receiving calls. Just some 5 minutes, some 30 seconds before their vote.
Wow.
And I will say that I believe the majority of the calls that I had received was a statement of fact that some senators from the very get-go stated that they wanted me to reach out to the Manamcus and let them know that they're still very much in favor of the bill. And so I didn't know what to say, really. I was just, I guess, as a spokesperson, I said thank you. And then I received 3 phone calls from various people that weren't sure if whether or not they would vote for the bill. And I just found that pretty odd, because when somebody calls me, it's usually to say, okay, by the way, you know, you guys need to know this, and I think the people go know this. I am not a pushover. I will not be anybody's pushover. I have allowed for many years where I have done things and I kept my mouth shut because people were trying to sabotage or to do things in anything that I did. Well, guess what? Elected officials out there, you're not going to find that in me anywhere. I am the brand new remade Cameron, and I am your Lola Cola in the male form, and I promise you that. Let me tell you something, and this is known by the Manamcus. Lola Cola, known as Lola Nelson, for many years, and my family knows this. We would speak every night for an hour to 2 hours, or every other night when she wasn't able to speak to me. And she was my confidant. She was my cousin, and she was very persistent. And I couldn't figure it out. And I would always go to all the meetings of the Manamcus for the Servicio para Manamco or for the Guam Association of Retired Persons. And we would meet mostly over at the, excuse me, the Senior Center program over at Manila. And I would sit there, and then when things were coming up, she would say, Cameron, did you hear that? And I used to just nod my head, and the Manamcus would look back. And I was too young to be in that room in the midst of all those folks. Well, listen, folks, I'm 63 years young. I am not going to be anybody's pushover. I will persist that the Manamcos, and let's not forget, it's not just the Manamcos, we've got thousands who are not just Gulf Corp employees. There are also dependents of Gulf Corp employees who are being insured by this great government. So all the lame excuses out there for why people didn't vote, elected officials, just, you know what? Let the old saying, nothing personal, but it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And let me tell you something, that fat lady is waiting to sing. Because come November election, they will speak. The Manamcos could not come out.
So wait, Joe, who's are you, the Manamcos or the fat ladies?
The Manamcos who are elders.
Right.
They're normally very active in some shape or form to come out to a public hearing. But remember, we didn't have a public hearing like we normally do. We had a Zoom meeting. Trust me, most Manamcos don't know how to Zoom even 45 miles an hour. Yeah. But let me tell you, as we proceed with this reopening of the government, there's going to be a level of comfort for the Manamcos. And they don't even have to go in to vote. They can come to the site and somebody will come out. And I will push for that, for people to come out and take care of the Manamcos in their car to vote. These Manamcos are not pushovers. And the Gulf Corp employees have a voice as well, who are active. Lots of people, and this, I guess it's part of our nature as Pacific Islanders, that, you know, okay, you know, well, it isn't okay. It really isn't.
What do you anticipate the governor's action will be with the bill, Joe?
You know, this is the way I look at it. I and the Manamcos, we place this in the hands of God. God always makes things happen for the best. And we believe that the very God we believe in will place that healing hands on the elected officials to make sure that there's opportunities. You know, I worked for the federal government. I had oodles of choices as to who I wanted to be my insurance coverage with. We've had this for how many decades in Guam? And there was a lame excuse to say, oh, by the way, we're giving you the opportunity of a lifetime. Our government spends millions, and we know this, people of Guam, it's true. We spend millions on pet projects. I'm telling you, it's okay to do that. Chris and Sabina, you know that. We've lived here. This is our home.
Who were the senators that called you prior to the vote? And what were they? Were they just like, oh, please forgive me, you know? But
you know what? It's not a nice thing to out people specifically on this radio, because let's say, I mean, let's be serious.
Was it senators that voted no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, there was two that voted no.
Okay, that called you.
Yeah, and I guess because, you know, I'm related to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that at some point in time, I can get pretty nasty.
Oh, really?
And I plan to be.
Well, when you're fighting for what's right, or you're fighting for people.
Put it this way, we are in a community that needs to get, you know, the family. We got to take care of each other, and there's ways to do that. But you know what? We can't bite the hands that feed us. We have elected individuals to speak on our behalf. And baby, we are a dying group, the Manamcos. And we don't muster the numbers of the thousands and thousands of people who are currently active employees. But trust me, we the Manamcos have laid the foundations for these young people. They want to take care of us too. So the active employees have family. And those family members were probably the biggest benchmark of their lives that stated, hey, why don't you apply to work for the government? Well, you know, back then we were the sole employer, right? But you know what? I don't want to go down this road of nastiness, because what if, I mean, you mentioned this, Sabrina, what if it's vetoed, right? We need an override. And you don't go out slapping people left and right publicly. I may go on my Facebook and just express myself, and by people that, when I say my people, Lord, I can't believe I said that. My colleagues who are elders along with me, we feel passionately about certain things, and we will express it. I mean, if Lola were alive, she would slap me. She'll turn over her grave if I didn't say something. That's why I said, no. I'm not going to be anybody's pushover. I need to speak out on behalf of the people that call me. You know what it was like yesterday after I had all my x-rays? The reason why was I freaking fell down on my butt, and I thought, Lord have mercy, I broke up my tailbone or something. Luckily me, I've got good bones. Well, these bones are going to resurrect. And I'm going to tell you, I will do the will of these Banamkus. I will be your Lola Cola.
Mm-hmm. You say Lola Cola, but you know her granddaughter voted no.
Well, I can't speak for my niece.
Mm-hmm.
She's my niece.
Oh.
But you know what? I believe that, and one of my statements, since you did ask, was, okay, if it's not going to be till 2022,
mm-hmm.
and you believe that X, Y, and Z may occur as a result of the passage, don't you think you have time between now and 2022? Hello? But then the excuse that was given to me was a lame one from one of the people that I go, oh, Lord. So I didn't want to touch that, because I felt like, here it is. Let's say that for whatever reason, it becomes vetoed. Well, those 6 folks, I need 2 to override the governor.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Why would I go after the 6 that went after that did not vote on the will of the Banamkus? Why would I do that? You know one thing? One thing I remembered is, that I was always told as an elder, as a young kid growing up. He says, you're so forgiving. Jojo, you're just so darn forgiving. You allow people to trample over you. But then again, I also remember having been a director for many agencies, a chief of staff for 3 senators. And I learned that if you humble yourself at some point in time, that fat lady is going to come out and sing. But I also remember, and I think the 2 of you would know this, that you kill people with kindness.
Mm-hmm.
You get more bees with honey.
Right, Joe. And that being said, right, let's look at the positive, right? The choice bill passed. It's now heading to Adelup. I know you're saying that you're going to take up the Lola Cola mantle. You're going to be the voice for choice for the retirees and the GovGuam employees. So are you going to have any conversation with the Gov and maybe, give her your 2 cents on this?
Of course. The time will come where I would like to meet with her. It's just so difficult with these times where, everything is kind of in an uproar as to who can come, who cannot come, things like that. But it doesn't have to be a person. First, it could be a phone call.
Yep.
Well, we know they listen, so if you want to give out a message right here, Joe, we can give you the floor, and we'll let you go.
Yes, absolutely. And I plead to all the elected officials, especially to our sweet governor, who is a very passionate governor. She's a woman. She understands family. She understands COVID. And thank God she's the governor right now. There's just no freaking way that we could do what we are doing to reopen Guam if it weren't that Lou. Let me tell you, Lou Leon Guerrero has a big heart, and she is nobody's pushover either. You see what I'm saying? She's nobody's pushover. I think the people know that already. I know times are hard. Don't you think the governor's concerned? Look at the cities that are planning to reopen or who have reopened, and Texas alone spiked almost 1,800 folks positive in one day. And then now we have all these folks out there badgering and protesting, this is America the Great. Well, guess what? Our governor's not looking at America the Great, but she is looking at hotspots. And she realizes that as a nation, the United States does not fall under the hotspot stuff, on the statistics. But she also is very cautiously concerned. And she will not be bullied. And you know what I've learned? You don't bully a governor to get something out of it. Do you really believe I'm going to bully our governor? Why would I do that? She's a very good person. She will weigh these cases out. And she knows that there's 2 years before we go into this choice, and that there's things to be worked out where it's a win-win for everybody. We just want choice. We want that opportunity. For those of us who can afford to pay the extra little just so we can get our choice, that's what the bill said. If your premium, for example, and I think it's better to speak this way, if the premium of the individual company, let's say, is like $50 your side a month, but yet it's $850 on the government side, which is comparable. I mean, it's a real number. The government spends a lot of money on your premium on that side of the coin. But remember that if that premium lowers to the lowest possible denominator because it's competitive, in that way it helps a great deal on that one company that gets the deal. But the competitors, they're not going to want to go way too high above that. Let's say that there's $150 more on a premium for the year if you selected somebody who was not the lowest denominator or the lowest cost. Don't speak for the money of the people who have choices. Some people will take that $150 more premium for that year and invest it in their health with a company that they feel more comfortable with, because it's called choice.
Well, there you go, Joe. And that's why we wanted to bring you on to kind of recap your thoughts on the events yesterday. And we'll touch base with you again. Let's go do another call this week and, keep us posted.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more time, there's too much hell and damnation out there. There's naysayers talking about spooky, and, Lulilgard, this, Lulilgard. You know what? I said this before, and it's not a very friendly thing for some of the naysayers. You've got to give the governor her just due. She is in charge. Whether you voted for her or not, she is our governor. And I want to end it like that. We got to start trusting this lady. She's a fine person, and I think the people are going to know that.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, bye.
Take it easy. Bye. There you go. The new Lola Cola. 658.
In mail form.
In mail form. Joe Cameron there, retiree for choice. 658. Hey, we're going to take a little break, and we'll come back with Senator Joe San Augustine, and we'll kind of discuss this Stand Your Ground Castle Doctrine expansion. That's coming up next on Containing COVID. Good morning, Guam.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
That is a mango Buchi Buchi.
Oh my gosh.
How's that?
Really good. This is local mango.
Yep. I mean, I hope it's local. It could be local mango.
It's warm.
Crispy.
Not too sweet.
Right on.
Really good.
Because we wanted empanada, but is that a good replacement?
Hell yeah.
Doing the trick,
So
right?
good.
Yeah. So thank you to our buddies over at Onadera. 704, it's containing COVID. Good morning on you. The KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite KUAM FM. I got you, Guam. Let's go to the phone, 637-0094. We'll bring on Joe. Joe, you had a question about SNAP benefits or just assistance in general. Go ahead and give it to us, sir. Chris and Sabrina here.
Good morning to you
Hi.
and Sabrina.
Good morning.
Thank you for the updates and intel.
Okay, so what do you need to know, sir?
Okay, this is regards to a caller that called yesterday regarding SNAP benefits if a client is under the benefits way before this coronavirus.
Right.
And then, we're employed. He has to go out. My wife is disabled. So wanted to find out if we're going to be, terminated from the SNAP program if we claim for unemployment.
Unemployment counts as income, is what we heard yesterday from Tess Archangel. So
No, it counts for
SNAP.
income low.
Right,
It's not
for SNAP.
our fault that we got hit with coronavirus.
Right.
It's not our fault that we had to be furloughed. It's not our fault. So we're going to suffer the consequences to file for unemployment. That's what's rightfully ours to begin with. Our SNAP benefits, that's rightfully ours because we need it, because my wife is disabled and needs the medical insurance. And everybody struggles here in Guam, all over the world. So is it our fault that we're going to be liable and at fault to get terminated from something that is not our fault?
No,
Of course not.
Yeah,
Of
it's
course not.
But I think, sir, it's just about the their guidelines, right? Because it's a federal program. So Uncle Sam says if you make more than this much per month and your household is this size, then you don't qualify for SNAP. And I mean, it is unfortunate, or the PUA. I mean, the PUA or you qualifying for the PUA and the FPUC and getting it will skew. It's going to add your household income and make it higher. And so then you might not be eligible. Or you might be eligible. I don't know. It depends on the chart. So they have different, for example, how many in your household, sir?
Only me and my wife.
Right. So then they would calculate. Like I'd asked Tess yesterday, so a household of one.
So that's the thing, too, I want to find out. They're going to calculate. How about my calculation? Okay, I'm under Section 8. Okay, just remember, I'm working, so the rent is still over 300 some. Okay, I get unemployment. I'm going to have to back pay all my rent. So if they calculate all those things like how I'm calculating it, shouldn't I still be qualified to still receive the SNAP benefits because it helps for food? And my medical insurance for my wife because she's going through medical.
Well,
Are you saying that you're going to be, you feel that you're going to be disqualified from SNAP because you're getting the PUA or the
I'm
FPUC?
pretty sure everybody's feeling that way right now because of the post from Mike St. Nicholas. Instead of, the congressman, the governor, the legislature, everybody, like how you and Ms. Sabrina is doing, working together as a team, why isn't everybody else that we voted for on that chair working as a team to help the people of Guam instead of bashing each other, talking about each other, fighting with each other?
That is a good question.
Look at you and Chris. You guys are working as a team, keeping all of our citizens here in Guam, all over the world. I'm pretty sure everybody around the island, back in the States, is watching you guys, doing a good job. Okay? Why can't they work like you and him, where you guys are keeping us updated, coming on the show to give us all the intel that we need, getting everybody on the phone that we have questions for, but they cannot answer to us, or they cannot come on the social media and at least talk to the people of Guam that put them in that chair.
You get
That's
to keep
what burns me every day that I don't see them on the news. It's too much repeat and bashing in each other instead of working as a team to help all of us, not just the U.S. citizens, not just other people, family, or whatever they want to call it. We're all human beings. That's what burns me every day.
Right.
Me too.
You get to keep the medical, sir. So we got with Tess, and medical benefits that you're receiving won't be affected if you get
Okay, so I'm going to break it down like this. Okay, we file for this, we get terminated. Are they looking at, okay, these people were working, so they're furloughed, they're going to be owing back pay and rent, and just because we're under Section 8 doesn't mean that we're having it so little, like $25 or $3 rent. We still have to pay 300 some, depending on our employment. Are they looking at that we have to pay back for these many months that we've been off work? Are they going to be looking back at those? Are they going to look at, we got other bills to pay like power and water because we're not even, under the apartment or place for with utilities included? Not all landlords will accept those. So those are my questions. Are they going to be looking at when we file and we're going to exceed over? Are they going to be looking at those encounters
the expenses
that we have to pay back?
Right.
I don't think so.
I think they just factor in the income. But sir, for example, right, a household of one. Let me just pop this up. Excuse me. Let me.
Have you tried calling GTOL? Those numbers that they provided at the processing center?
Okay, they tell me just to fill out the online registration But why am I going to keep on filling it out once a week because they said we have to do it once a week? Okay, why am I going to keep doing it? I want to know if I'm going to be terminated. You know, that thing helps me and my wife a lot, and I'm pretty sure it helps everybody else a lot. And those are the things that, I'm really concerned about because I really can't afford to lose, the SNAP benefits because it helps to provide food on the table because that's why it goes to rent and power and water and other bills. So those are the things, I did call GDOL. They told me to just be filling it out. They told me to try to call DPHSS. I tried calling them. And this lady on the phone, her name is Bert at Manila. She just keeps telling me she's new there. She doesn't know. She tries to get whoever on the phone. Then she tells me to call someplace, and I call that place. They say, I don't know why they told you to call here. It's like back and forth, back and forth. That's why I'm saying, why can't the people of Guam that's behind that higher chair get together and keep us informed the way you and Mr. Chris is keeping us informed?
Joe, did they told you when you called that your SNAP benefits would be cut if you're receiving FPUC or PUA, which is only in effect till December? It's a temporary program. I don't see why they would cut you off.
Exactly.
It doesn't make
sense. That's the reason why I'm trying to get more intel, because nobody is getting to the phones to talk to me. That's why this was my last resort to call you guys. I really try not to call you guys because, I view you guys every day. I see you guys so busy keeping us updated with everything going on, and I hear you guys taking all the BSs from other people because, nobody else we can talk to because nobody wants to entertain our calls.
Yeah. We get the same thing. Nobody wants to entertain our calls.
But you know what? Anybody out there, if you have a question, call us, please. We get a lot of stuff on the messenger, and we'll try our best to really get to it.
Yeah, because that really doesn't sound right that you would be disqualified from the SNAP program for a temporary program with FPUC and PUA.
Right.
That expires in December.
But I think you would only be, suspended from it during that time because it's based on income. And if, for example, like Tess said, a household size of 3, the income should not exceed $2,311. So let's say, for example, I was a single. I know, but
if he was employed and he was employed and he was still accepting SNAP, receiving SNAP, then why would you remove SNAP while you're getting FPUC and PUA?
Because I think that what it really boils down to is the FPUC and the PUA. For a lot of people, it's way more than they were making in their job. So that's like $945 a week times 4 weeks in a month.
It's not like he said. It's not their fault.
But I'm just thinking the guidelines. Maybe the assumption is if you're making that much money, then
and we had no control over what the rates were going to be.
Yeah, and I think Joe's right. Instead of Congressman San Nicolas posting on Facebook and causing all this anxiety, why doesn't he pick up the phone and try and figure it out with our local leaders and say, yeah, this is what's going to happen. This is how we're working.
Work as a team because we work as a team like you and Miss Sabrina. We'll all get somewhere. But no, everybody want to just keep bashing each other on social media. Social media is masakit at KUAM News. It's faster than KUAM News because KUAM News, when you watch it at night, is from what's going on in the morning towards the yesterday or last night. With the social media, Facebook, everybody's bashing each other. We hear everything, but what? They cannot work together to help all of us here in Guam. Everyone needs it. Not only one, not only family. Everyone needs it. And that's the other thing. With everything going on before they open DNV and all, don't you think that's a big building? They could have at least, since they're only doing revenue and tax and renewal, they could have did at least a drive-thru so everybody doesn't need to suffer in the hot sun and go through that drive-thru. It's a big building. They have enough space for that. Everybody's so concerned about getting infected and everything. They could have did that and was that prevent it from spreading. Everybody wants to open everything. I understand the money needs to come in to pay Uncle Bill. Don't get me wrong, but look, it's already spreading again. Look back there in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, they opened the beach. It ended up going up to 22,000 confirmed cases again. So is that what we're trying to get again? A second wave of the coronavirus or what? These are the things that's supposed to be spoken out from our leaderships, but nobody's getting to us. It's only you and Miss Sabrina getting to us all the info we need. None of our leaderships are getting to us. It's just burning me that I cannot, was that standard already that is it's a waste of time to try to cope, and it's a waste of my time to risk my health, to infect myself, to come and infect my wife, to get sick if I go out there on the road to try to ask the questions that I need to ask.
I feel for you. And we're going to continue to try and get you and everybody else that's listening answers. I know there's a lot of questions.
Do we need to get Tess back on this morning?
We do. I think we need to get Tess back on. We're going to try.
If you do it, my sister Sabrina and Chris, I appreciate all you guys' help. You guys are doing such a good job. I wish and I hope that you guys run for the governor or congressman and whatsoever and get everybody out, that you guys would bring in the people that does a job like you guys, that's doing a good job in keeping us all informed.
Viva KUAM!
Viva Sabrina and Chris. God bless, be safe, and wash your hands for Lucy Chris malfunction.
Thank you,
Take care. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I mean, if you'd like to talk with us and share your concerns, or if you're looking for answers, our number is 637-0094.
Okay. 7:15. Let's go to the Guam Congress Hall now and bring Senator Joe San Augustine on. Good morning, Senator.
Hey, morning, Chris. You got a hot morning.
Wow.
It's always hot in here.
Did you hear what he said, Senator? About
Yes, and I know that my staff is listening to the radio, and they should be more than likely they took notes, because they know I'm going to ask them, look up and what's going on out there. And I understand his frustration, and we need to get him some answers. And I guess the best way is to, I hope they took notes, like I said. And if not, if you wrote it all down, send it to me, and we'll give you a response.
We're going to post this link later on today, so you'll be able to listen back to that interview. But I think he was really extremely concerned with the fact that if he were to apply for PUA, and if he's eligible for PUA or receives PUA, that his SNAP benefits he would be kicked out of the program. And it kind of doesn't make sense if this PUA FBUC is only temporary.
Exactly, and I don't see the rationale behind that you're getting an assistance, and then when you get another assistance that they're going to kick. I mean, why even give you the assistance if they're going to bump you out an assistance that lasts a lot longer than what you're going to get today? So it doesn't make sense. But I'll have my staff look it up, and we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, maybe somebody's giving him the wrong information over at Public Health. I'm not sure, because I'm not working this program or anything, but I'm hearing his concerns, and that is concerning that he would suffer this loss of income, or because SNAP, it's for food.
Exactly, Chris, and that's what I mean, Sabrina, and that's why I'm concerned, is that maybe they just need to take a look at it and maybe adjust what they're giving in the PUA. Adjust the PUA so that he doesn't lose the food stamp, and move along, and let's just get this out. It's frustrating on our side that, let's say, when we're like, that's a big fun, come on, let's move along. Can't be that slow.
Right, yeah. It's obvious that people are still suffering out there. And, you do have control over, oversight over finances of the government of Guam. And I'm wondering if you are aware of any of the issues with the Department of Administration in the processing of the Programani Salapi Zudini Tautau payment, because we had heard from one of our listeners last week that there were boxes upon boxes of applications that are sitting in the Department of Administration's office because they have not had the time to go in there and vet them and process them.
I confirmed that yesterday, Sabrina. I spoke with Mike over at the Department of Administration. It was I was doing a follow-up on a FOIA request, and we're talking, and then it had come up that, remember Lonnie, right?
I think so.
I want to say, oh God. Well, we had a woman call in who is trying to track her Programa Nazuda.
Slappy.
Salapi para shrimp patties, Danny bananas dogu, Danny posted. He's tracking that application, and I guess this guy, Mike at DOA, had told her that there were just all these boxes, because DOA is the one that goes through the applications, which I think is interesting because it seems like it would be public health. And so apparently there's a backlog there and I wrote it down here. What did I write to you, Bree? That they are on. If you have applied for the Programa Ajuda sa Salapi, they are only on May 12th.
And there's got to be a delay because a lot of people have been commenting over the last several weeks on our Facebook stream that they have not received anything.
You're referring to the one that the $10,000 and below, right?
No,
we're referring to the governor's financial assistance program funded by the Federal CARES Act.
The $20 million that was put out there for people who were on existing, who were SNAP recipients, and then other people who it was like $300 per.
$300 up to $1,200.
Right. Yeah. And so we got word from DOA Senator that they're only on May 11th and May 12th. So that they're pretty behind. It sounds like.
Well, let me find out why they're behind when they're supposed to be all back to work. So they should be able to shift. Don't be in a rush to hire. Be in a rush to send out, clear and send it out.
I think what it is, because Tess tried to explain that these are added responsibilities of DOA staff because they're having to do this and then they're having to do the EIP checks, processing of those. What else?
There should be one organized area where we corral different, like a task force, or how they're detailing people to labor. Well, obviously we need to do the same with some of these applications for these other assistances that are. Well, I mean the deadline passed for the Ajuda program, but I mean it's clear. And talking to Mike from DOA, I mean they're saying they're like 3-4 boxes full of applications dating as far back as May 11th, May 12th. We're seeing in the comments, some people said, oh, they were told May 5th, May 6th, which is, I don't know, Bree, that's kind of crazy.
It's kind of sad because people have been waiting for assistance.
And it's like, we start these programs and then it seems like there's no follow through. So obviously they need a helping hand there at DOA.
Okay, I will have my staff already WhatsApp me that they're going to be calling them in at 8 o'clock.
Right. Yeah. Just talk to Mike Schnepp over there at DOA. He's the guy that's working on it.
Now we'll just grab Mr. Ed Byrne and ask him.
Yeah, there you go.
Show me and explain it.
That's one way. Right.
There's people waiting, and let's just get it. Like they say right on the comedy show. Let's just get her done.
Get her done.
Get her done.
Senator, so you had a public hearing yesterday, right, for the Stand Your Ground Castle Doctrine,
sir.
And was it pretty bumpy? You think?
Well, I look at it this way. It wasn't really bumpy. You have 3 folks there that are basically speaking the same language. There's obviously they're from the same group. I received a lot of WhatsApp and a lot of texts from folks saying, I support it, and I'm responding with, well, then get on the air and say it so people can hear it. Because they're only hearing one side. But they're all going to be sending emails, sending their testimony. They had good points they brought up. But at the same token, the bill is just I believe it's plain and simple. It just expands the Castle Doctrine to eliminate the requirement of retreat before the use of force. I mean, yeah. Of course, they're not gonna support it. Some of the folks is because they're not victims. Versus people that are calling me, and pushing it. And you have to remember, Chris, that I brought this up last term.
Yeah.
And never got to the floor. I brought it up again this term. It finally got a hearing. 18 months later? Wow, great. Let's move along. And I've said it yesterday. Put it to the floor. Great. You had a hearing. You had a lot of data from the United States. Wow, the last time I checked, we're in Guam. We're not in Missouri. We're not in Washington State where, you got the Wild Wild West going on. But here in Guam, we don't have that. And all the folks are asking for is the right to defend themselves. And sure, the Attorney General's office came up. Yeah, we already got this. Yeah, we already got this. Well, really, you got it so well. Why would those then people out to commit serious crimes? They're released in 24 hours. Okay, well, what else is going on? Public defenders saying this, and folks, take a look at the bill. You got a recommendation to amend it. I think Mr. Terlai mentioned yesterday that if there was training, great. That's a good amendment. Anybody issued a firearm will get the basic weapons, firearms training. That's a great amendment. I'm willing to put that in. I'm going to recommend that be put in, and then we'll take a look at it. But the goal here is let's just make sure that the people of Guam, whoever it is, has a right to own a firearm, that has a right to defend himself. Mm-hmm. That's the basic item on this bill. I mean,
can you just kind of break that down? Yeah. So we have the Castle Doctrine. That's
which
where
is a house,
right? And so stand your ground would be where you could defend yourself wherever anywhere in the community,
anywhere you happen to be,
right? For self-defense,
right?
For self-defense,
and it eliminates the need or the what is it about retreating, Senator? So you don't have to retreat anymore.
You don't have to retreat. I mean, but it's got to be within reason. I mean, any sound mind would think about it and say, he'll look at the person, he's being threatened. I mean, gosh, if you're 100 pounds and somebody like you, as big as you, Chris, comes up to the guy and says, I'm bad. I tell you what, the guy will freak out. And if you make threatening movements to him, you can expect him to defend himself. But I'm hoping the guy's not going to just reach for the gun right away. I mean, there's a point of threat where it becomes eminent to the guy that he believes you're going to kill him. I mean, and let's face it, that all has to be measured and determined and evaluated by the Attorney General,
right,
by the defense attorney.
Because it sounds like a lot of hoping and gray area, Senator.
Well, there is, and we have to admit that most of our folks now, they're all buying weapons. They're all applying the concealed firearms ID card.
Right.
They're all getting the training. But maybe we need to put I honestly believe we need to put the training also in the basic firearm ID. You got to get a basic training. You got to be recertified, and you got to be educated. That's what we always say to everything that happens. We got to get education more involved, and let's just educate our people that hey, if you do this, you could get this, and if you don't do what's right, and it's not sensible and reasonable among the common person, you could go to jail. Mm-hmm. And people have gone to jail when they've applied in the States. And they applied to stand your ground, they've gone to jail because why? They believe the jury and the courts and everybody, even the defense, was like, you messed up, dude. You shouldn't have done that. That kind of stuff.
Right. Senator,
has anybody from the court or the AG's office provide any statistics on when Castle Doctrine was used as a defense?
I think they said it's never been used, right?
No, not yet. So it's no different. I mean, you look at it this way. The Castle Doctrine passed in Guam. How many have used it? I tell you what, when that Castle Doctrine was passed, people would only the very few do home invasion. And, I read that out during the hearing. The number of events that happened on Guam here on 2019. I didn't even look in 2020 because I'm like, we got the COVID and ain't nobody's invading anybody's home. Everybody's just staying home. But if you take a look at it, there was numerous events that happened last year. And then the question would be, it's fortunate for them that broke in that they didn't get killed, which they could have. So it's obvious that even with the expansion, what are the chances? Remember, this is Guam now. We're not talking, anywhere in the States where you got all the mixture that just makes it terrible. What are the chances that someone's going to pull it and the Wild West is going to happen down at Ipoh Beach? I don't believe that.
I mean, but it's a possibility, Senator, because what we're seeing, right? Yeah, because of the crime, and that's really what's driving the. This is one of those weird things where when I see the evidence of it, there's no need for it. People haven't been using the Castle Doctrine, and for the most part, nobody's had to really stand their ground and went to jail for defending themselves. But where this bill really resonates with people is we're victims out here. GPD, I'm just tired of hearing the short-staffed, whatever the reason is, we're victims out here. We're getting, they're just picking us apart, the criminals.
But not only that, there's crime that's being committed on this island, and they're not getting prosecuted or charged.
Right.
We got seriously,
murdered. We got a guy got murdered right in front of his house, shot to death, and there's still nothing on it. So people hear this stand your ground,
Castle lesser Doctrine, charges,
and they like it because they're like, oh my God, yeah, we're finally take matters in my own hands. That's why these kind of bills really thrive.
Well, Chris, I look at it this way. On the GPD side, I can't fault them because you can only hire so many and you can only find so many applicants right, that qualify to get hired. They're just trying to reach the magic number of 50 a year. Once they reach that point, then maybe you may say, well, we don't need the cast doctrine. We don't need to stand your ground. Well, nobody may have to apply that rule if this bill was to pass. But at the same time, exactly where you're coming from when you come about the Attorney General. I mean, yesterday they talked about, it's all there, but you let them all loose anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it's GPD are great folks. They're a bunch of great folks, but you can't blame them when you got to remember that if you look at the number of police officers per village, there's not enough, and there's not enough qualified applicants to be hired. GPD would love to hire a bunch of folks, but at the same time, you've got the police department, you got the Department of Corrections, you got the fire, you got all the law enforcement that are looking for applicants. I wish we had a lot of folks, because if we did, I mean, we would have you wouldn't have just one police officer in a car.
I know there's a filing cabinet full of applications somewhere.
You also have questionable hires or agencies that, why do we even have this agency?
Well, that's something that at the legislature, we don't do the alignment line. Come on, Billy, Sabrina, Billy. There's a role the governor plays if she believes and she can justify the existence of the different agencies. And I hear where you're coming from, Sabrina, and I hear where you come from, Chris. But we have to reach a point where at the legislature we take a look at the budget and we determine
what budget.
We're working with them. We're working with them now, okay, and we're trying to see now how best to fund the government and say, Governor, maybe you may want to take a look at some of these agencies that you need to merge, and maybe consolidate, and maybe we'll get those boxes open at DOA so they can process those.
Yeah.
Though, I've heard about reorganization plans for years, and then you have a reorganization plan, then it's like,
and then somebody gets mad.
Inorganic, or you
can't
had
hire
like
deputy directors. What?
Yeah. You had the Department of Land Management, Chamorro Land Trust Commission, Ancestral Land, all these agencies under one, and then all of a sudden,
they're breaking them up. Yeah, Senator, we got to run. We got a couple other calls on, but I wanted to end here with the choice. You voted in favor. What are you anticipating the governor's action will be with this Bill 366?
Well, I'm hoping. I voted for it, so I'm hoping she'll sign it. If she doesn't, then we just go back to. We just stay status quo, and we move on. And then we take a look at what are the other options next year. We'll look at what it costs this year, and we'll move on. Everybody keeps talking about the cost is going to go up. Cost is going to go up on everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe insurance or buying other groceries or buying gas. Price goes up on Guam all the time, every day.
You ought to do a law about that.
Ooh, day.
Okay. Hey, thank you.
Have a nice day, Chris.
Yeah.
Bye.
Wash your hands. Ooh, a day. Let's keep it on the phones here. I want to bring Lonnie Tamandong on from the Giving Tree. Lonnie, good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Hi.
Let's just get right into it. So the guidance came out over the weekend that daycares were going to be allowed to open, and I was actually so happy for you guys. And we had congratulated some people yesterday. We had Holly on about
Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce
pushing for this issue, and we know that you had been working on your guidelines to reopen, but in talking to you when I answered the phone this weekend, there was a little bit of a curveball. So can you just take us back to the beginning, if you will, and tell us where you were when these new guidelines came out applicable to the child care centers over the weekend?
Okay, so it was kind of funny, or it wasn't funny. I actually heard from the news that we were able to open. Hello?
Yeah,
Am I still here?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when I was reading it, I was like, what? Because we had been working on our guidelines, and we had been working with the Physicians Advisory Council that we had formed a subcommittee, and we were working with some physicians on creating these guidelines that looked good to them, and they were supposed to present to the governor today. So when we got the word on Sunday that we were able to open on Monday, we're like, how did that happen? And then we kind of got the, all the information on what the guidelines were that we were opening on, and It's a big surprise to the child care industry because they are letting us operate on 25% of our capacity, and that's to include staff. Okay, so how child care works, this strategy is just not practical because I think when they decided to do this, they didn't take into account how child cares operate. I don't think anyone really was looking at this like, okay, we're going to open them up and they're going to be able to operate. It just doesn't happen that way. 25% our capacity, including a staff, that's to include a director. When we operate a child care, a director has to be on staff, and they're not counted as a ratio towards the children. So we're looking at an average child care that holds, well, let me just look at one of my centers.
Right.
We have 42, our maximum capacity is 42. So we're able to have 10 people in the center, and that's to include staff. So we have our director, then we have to have our teacher, a teacher's assistant, and it depends what age group is coming back because now we have 4 different age groups. We have an infant room, we have a pre-toddler room, we have a toddler room, we have a pre-K room. So they're not looking at it this way that, okay, so we're going to open up with 10 people. There's a director. There's 3 teachers. That's already 4 people. Okay, so and then we need a teacher's assistant or a floater because now we have all these guidelines in place where we're not supposed to be mixing rooms. We need to try to keep everyone in the same room, so we need a helper in each room. It's like, what are we going to take care of, like 4 kids, 3 kids, and then have the staff? It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Lonnie,
it doesn't. It sounds like it's impossible for you guys. I mean, and that not just to open because you can open and do what you want, but like, how do you make money? I mean, not even make money. I don't even think we're talking about making a profit here. I mean, how do you?
We're not going to make money, and here's the thing too. We still haven't received funding.
Are we talking about the grant?
No, the CARES Act funding that I was talking about earlier on the show.
Right.
Yeah. So we talked to Tess from Public Health yesterday, and what she had told us was the
block grant funding. Right?
No, the CARES Act. There's funding there.
No, it's all there. Right. But then they have the side money that daycare facilities can apply for the disinfectants, the PPEs, and they're still working on that.
Well, I think they have the application process all figured out from what Tess said, and they've sent it over to the Attorney General's office for them to review.
We keep hearing about it being at the Attorney General's office.
That's where things go to die, apparently, because unless it's a fast-track superpower.
I did want to just go back real quickly. You said that you guys were working with the Physicians Advisory Group on the guidance, and then, right? Was any of that discussed? Like, well, this 25%.
We had met with the Physicians Advisory at Adelu, and it was a few of us, some of us daycares that are part of the Child Care Association, and we had presented our guidelines that we had been working on, that we came up with, and it's a really it was a process because we had to really look at everything, all the recommendations, and we didn't have any guidelines to go by. So hello?
That's just me. Yeah, I'm just
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Lonnie.
Okay. So we were working with the Physicians Advisory Council, and we had presented our guidelines, which they thought was pretty good, and they're basing it kind of off how the Japanese school would be reopening for summer. And they went over our guidelines. We met with Dr. Michael which is a pediatrician, Dr. Wen, Dr. Cruz, just a few doctors, and they went over and they thought that our guidelines were really good. It touched everything. And they had also recommended that children do not wear face masks, and that the staff would. So we went with that. But now these new guidelines, that was just, it really looked like it was just like, off the internet, not much thought put into it. They're saying that the children, over 2 would have to wear face masks. They're saying that there's only 25% of our capacity to include staff. It's just, a lot of it just doesn't, it's not feasible, and it's just not practical for small businesses or child care. That it's just
was the guidance that you had presented and were working on, was that in conformance with the CDC guidelines?
Yes. So it was. We took all the recommendations from CDC, and then we also just put together some of our own guidelines, what we know is needed, and we were even just on a Zoom conference call on Friday or Saturday with even Dr. Michael and we went over everything, and they said it seemed good, and they were going to present it today to the governor. So it was just like a curveball. We saw that we're allowed to open under all these things, and the crazy part about it is we're usually informed by our licensing officer, Department of Public Health, of course, before it reaches the media. So we were waiting to hear from them, and we still haven't heard from them. And,
since the reopening, and since the press release went out Sunday.
So we haven't heard from them.
And you've tried calling? No return call? No. Nothing?
Yeah, there was a few childcares also that tried calling, and they even told me they didn't get a call back. So I think they're still trying to figure it out. I highly doubt that our licensing officer or anyone in the childcare part even knew that was going to happen. So I think that's what they're doing. They're just trying to fix everything.
What was the occupancy rate that you guys were suggesting?
So we were talking with the Physicians Advisory Council, and they said we could start small if we'd like, but at our own, it's all our own private businesses. We all have different occupancies, how much we think we could do without being overwhelmed, just to, kind of test the waters or kind of like pilot it. So they were saying that it would be up to us to decide on the occupancy. I mean, this isn't like a restaurant or anything. How we look at occupancy, we have child staff ratios for babies that are 12 months and under. It's 4 children to 1 staff, so that's already 5, and then for 1-year-olds, it's 6 to 1 staff. So we have to, it just doesn't make sense to include the staff or the director at that in the 25% capacity.
I mean, you're gonna you do all this to watch 2 kids, it sounds like.
But you know what, Chris? I don't see a lot of childcares opening, and I'm hearing that there's not a lot of childcares going to open with this until that changes. But we are going to open on Thursday, and that's because we've done our surveys and we know that there are parents that need our care. I have a total of, between 3 centers, we service over 100 kids, but not everyone is coming back. Of course, not everybody needs the care, not everyone's comfortable enough, but we have been doing surveys, and there are parents that, they ask us almost every day since it started, have we heard anything new? They really need the child care. And so we are going to open all 3 centers on Thursday. I'm hoping that, speaking to you guys can find out some answers, and we can possibly change that 25% capacity. I mean, it does change a lot, because since this whole thing has started, I haven't laid off any employee. I've been paying them even when they weren't even coming to work. But since they allowed us, since the last talk show, and they allowed us to go in and clean, my staff has been in there since then. And so the place is spick and span, everything is sanitized. There's nothing more for us to do. We have done everything we have prepared. We even put hand washing things outside the centers, put up a pop-up tent. We got all the thermometers, we got everything ready. And we've been communicating with our parents and letting them know that we're going to do our best, and we're going to open as soon as they allow us to open, to be there for them. So that's what we're going to do on Thursday. I spent all night, crunching the numbers and seeing what staff, what children we're going to take in, going over to survey at who's essential workers, who needs the care Monday through Friday, or if some of them only need it Wednesday and Friday. We're trying to accommodate at all angles. So that's what we're going to do. And we're just going to try to reach out to our licensing and figure out where we can go from there. Hopefully they can do something like if they could just, I don't know, take out the whole capacity thing, or not make it include staff.
Right, you're right, because it's crazy. Public health knows that you guys need a certain amount of people to meet your staff to child ratio. So you're right. I don't understand why that wasn't factored in.
Yeah, it really is something, because
I can't believe they didn't tell you guys were reopening.
I just think
it was just via press. Well, no, actually, I can. Because
You can't believe it?
I said that, but then I realized what I said, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I can believe it.
I mean, Lonnie, we've seen this so with these guidelines. They drop a bomb of guidelines over the weekend, and then they say, oh, you can open. And then when we go back to the businesses, they're like, oh, wait a minute, we can't even understand these guidelines. Or in your case, they don't make sense. They
don't make sense. We're trying to make something happen with this.
Right. And so on our
we've
end,
been needing to open, but
like we get these guidelines and we don't necessarily know that there's a problem until we talk to you guys. So maybe we need to do a better job, Bree, of getting these the people who are putting out these guidelines to come on and explain them.
Yeah, we do.
Because,
I mean, we try.
And that's the thing. We try. We haven't seen a press conference since,
Right.
I don't even know
we have
anymore.
so much people congratulate us, like, oh, you guys can open.
Right.
Congratulations.
That's what I did yesterday. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, let's get you on and we
You
talk
weren't
about,
the only one,
you
and
know.
it's just kind of like this feeling like,
Right. I mean, Lonnie, I was going to be like, hey, send us some pics of the kids and, you know, we'll play them over the interview. And now I'm just pissed off.
yeah,
Thanks.
It's really crazy. So we're going to continue trying to reach out to them, and hopefully they give us some answers and they change some things. And then again, with the children wearing masks.
That's crazy.
It's
They just
just
had a whole
crazy.
advisory. They just sent a damn advisory was it last week? They sent out an advisory saying don't let kids wear masks.
Even Dr. was on our show.
All the physicians at the meeting, they all said that they weren't for children wearing masks. So I'm hoping that they still meet with the governor today and put that in and let them know that, we should change that out. Because, it's just not safe. And now we're going to operate with less staff. And then, we're having all these kids in masks. They haven't been in childcare for how long? They're going to be crying. They're going to be needing to blow their nose. They're going to be choking up. It's a scary thing. They're going to come back and it's all new. They're not going to see any of their friends because it's probably just 5 of them or 4 of them. And then they're all wearing masks. And the teachers are wearing masks. It's crazy. And
I mean, it's crazy when they just put out an advisory saying it's dangerous to let kids wear masks, and now part of their guidelines is to make the kids wear masks. Anyway.
And that's what happened to that person that messaged me on Facebook about Revan Tax. He drove all the way from Maritza to go to Revan Tax, and they told him he had his child with him, I think 5-month-old baby, and they're like, oh, you can't come in because your baby doesn't have a mask on. And it was like, oh, you're going to put a mask on this 5-month-old baby. So he had to leave.
Yeah.
And he was very upset.
A 5-month-old baby?
Yeah, I believe the baby was 5 months
not
old.
recommended by CDC or anybody for children under 2. Like, they can't even remove it themselves.
It's nuts.
They can't breathe.
And we reached out to the
I can't breathe in a mask. I watch you guys on the show in a mask all the time, and like, you guys go ahead and take a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a break right now.
Like, it's hard. Imagine children.
Yeah.
We're not saying people don't wear masks. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
yeah.
children.
Yeah, we're not those people to be like, don't wear a mask. Okay, Lonnie. Well, we'll follow up on the CARES Act funding that's at the AG's office. AG, let's go. Let's move it. And also,
hopefully you guys can get someone on from public health and bring up this 25% operating and capacity.
That sounds like a Linda DeNorsi type of question.
Yeah, we've been trying to get Linda on.
She doesn't want to go on any talk shows because she's worried.
She forgot
the signature thing.
recall
something. I got to tell her, like, we're done. We're not going to ask you about that. Just come on and answer some questions.
Yeah, please, because, child care's me too.
It is.
I mean, it's bad enough they put us together with massage parlors and bars.
Mm-hmm.
All that other
and
stuff.
even we had a person from Porky's Bar yesterday. They had no idea that they were going to be opening or allowed to reopen Friday. It's like, so you didn't get a heads up.
I mean, I'm thinking like they would, do some videos and maybe have like a bar setting or a daycare setting. I mean, if you're going to open your daycare, you would have to do this. But instead, we do other videos that probably don't serve as
it just
useful
felt like a slap in the face because they said we couldn't open because there was no guidelines at all.
Right.
And then they said work on our guidelines and submit it. And we went all the way to Adelup. We created a subcommittee. We met with these physicians. We spent, hours on this. And then we never even made it to the governor. And they just threw out these guidelines that are just, they're very general, just probably copy and paste off the internet. And they didn't put too much thought into it. It's it's a little disappointing.
Well, we hear you, Lonnie, and thanks for touching base, and let's keep it up. Let's touch base this week and let me know what happens.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Wash your hands.
Take care.
Okay. 7:49. Yeah, it's something else. It's something else. It's just I need to go get my wand. You know. Dude, what is it? We had Joe calling in. He's upset, and then we find out there's boxes of unprocessed applications over at DOA. Now we're finding out the guidelines are a day.
You gotta feel for them though.
I
They've
do.
been working on these guidelines, and
because people lie. I mean, it's not just.
It's like here's our guidelines, and then he's like, okay, but this is what we're gonna do.
Give me that again. Here's our guidelines. Yeah, okay. Well, here's your guidelines. There you go. There's your guidelines right there. Right here. It's right here. All right, we're gonna take a short break. We got to go breathe.
Yeah.
Right, get some air. I'm getting lightheaded. It's 7:49. Good morning.
Half a day. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits, as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation programs, the first thing you'll need to do is create an account and register on HireGuam.com. Utilizing this button rather than the Not Registered button at the upper right login box will ease the pool registration process as it was built specifically for the pool program. The first page you'll see is the welcome page that explains the pool program and the 10 scenarios of eligibility that caused unemployment. Read through it entirely, and if any pertain to you, click Next. Input your social security number and then re-enter to confirm. Notice at the top of the page, the eligibility section is completed and the registration process begins. In order to complete your registration process, you will be asked to provide the following: a username and password and select a security question, an email address, or if you don't have one, you will be required to create one with the link provided, your residential and mailing address if different, your preferred notification method to receive benefit notices and updates, any prior military or current military service, education, occupation, your preferred payment method, such as direct deposit or paper check. Now, if you opt for direct deposit, you will need to supply your bank account and routing number. And since these benefits are taxable, whether or not you would like your taxes withheld. When you see the page notifying you to proceed to make your PUA claim, you have completed the registration process and may continue to the work history portion of the claims process. Input your last employer data, job title, and employment information. When the system prompts you to enter your last day worked, make sure you enter the date in which your employment status was directly affected by COVID-19. For example, if you were furloughed on April 1st, 2020, but have since returned to work, you will enter April 1st and not yesterday. Complete the rest of your work history information and add as many past employers as needed. Once completed, you will be required to certify that all information is true and correct, that you are responsible to keep informed of program benefits and reading program material, and that you acknowledge that any false statements are punishable by law and could result in a fine, imprisonment, restitution, and a loss of future benefits. Read through PUA's to-do list and take note of the following. Immediately file your weekly claim. Report all income for the week to include tips, commissions, and gratuities, even if you have not yet been paid. If you return to your normal pre-pandemic work hours or return to work and make over $494, you must stop filing a weekly claim. You must be able and available for work. If you are offered your job back and refuse for a non-COVID related reason, you are no longer eligible to receive PUA benefits. And at PCOR 3, you must look for work by contacting at least 3 different employers about job openings. Be sure to upload a valid government-issued ID and supporting documents to strengthen your claim. Congratulations! You have completed the PUA claim filing process. It's time to file your weekly claim. Click on the File Your Weekly Claim button to proceed. Read through the explanation of the weekly certification process and advisories before proceeding. Notice that the weekly certification process begins the week in which you claimed as your last day of work. Answer each page honestly and input additional information as required. However, if you have since returned to work, be sure that on the weekly claim of the day you returned, you adjust your weekly earnings accordingly. Congratulations! You have filed your weekly claim. Make sure you file for...
We will rise eventually. Good morning. Hey, also on the way on the show, Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Josh Tenorio. We're also going to have from the Republican Party, Juan Carlos Benitez, and we'll do our weekly crime check-in with Sergeant Paul Tapao, the Guam Police Department. Good morning. Let's keep it on businesses that were given the notice that they could reopen over the weekend. And I'll bring on Terry from my favorite movie theater chain, Tango Theaters. Good morning, Terry. Oh, you're
really low, Terry.
You're really low. Can you try the...
Okay, so how about this?
Still really low. Very low. That's weird.
Let's try this.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
I hope this is a lot better.
That is
that's
great.
loud and clear.
That is so good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Of course. Glad to have you on, Terry. Let's just start at the beginning. I touched base with you a little bit yesterday, and you guys had actually come up with guidelines to reopen a while ago, right?
Yes. Actually, yes. We have been monitoring the progress of, the reopening of businesses, and because we were excited to open, and because, we wanted to be proactive on this, we have submitted our reopening proposal since about a month ago. But, we were told that because the government is still, or, the island is still in a certain condition, then they could not accept our proposal.
Right.
So last Sunday, when we learned that we can reopen, that's when I resubmitted Tango's reopening plan. So I have just checked their website, and it's right there. So right now we're waiting on them to find out if our proposal for reopening has been approved or not. But it's there. We have made sure that we have our customers in mind, and at the same time, when we crafted the proposal, we also considered not just our local government statutes, but bearing in mind also the standards, the health standards that have been imposed by the National Association of Theater Owners and the CDC.
Right.
NATO, you mean?
We miss everybody, but, we are here to make sure that when they come back, when our customers come back, they will be enjoying the movie experience in a safe and comfortable environment.
Right, but I thought the word came down on Sunday that theaters were part of the reopening starting yesterday at 8 in the morning.
Yes, but you know what, Sabrina, that is, when you say reopen, it's not really that automatic. Even if we've been preparing for this day, we just cannot reopen immediately.
Right.
So our target opening date is July 1st.
Okay. What are what changes are we going to see?
And then, Terry, if you could, the guidelines that you guys had initially come up with, how different were they from the guidelines that Public Health came out with over the weekend?
Okay, so like what I said earlier, we have been cognizant with the local mandate. So we have followed that, as well as that of CDC guidelines and the National Association of Theater Owners guidelines. But we're now waiting on them to let us know if we're on the right track or not, because, there are certain things that they may impose and they may not impose. I was just listening to Lonnie earlier this morning. So we're now waiting on that. And then as far as the new normal is concerned, there are certain things that you will see in the theater that may be new but is now being practiced. For example, the no face mask, no face shield, no entry policy. And we're waiting on the age group on, as far as implementation of this is concerned. Of course, we're going to have temperature checks at the beginning at the box office, because if we find out if the temperature reading is 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius, we won't be able to sell you a ticket. We would recommend that, you may want to see a physician for this. And then there's going to be a second temperature check when you reach the usher. Aside from that, of course, there's the 6 feet distancing, and most importantly, the 50% capacity in all auditoriums. So we're going to, those are the main things that we will be implementing when we reopen. And one of the challenges that movie theaters face, not only here but also stateside, is the distribution of movies, because Hollywood right now and movie distributors are still trying to get a feel of the market. While within a year, movie distributors already have a release date for all the movies, but because of the pandemic, they had to stop the release movies. You're not only just considering the blockbuster movies, but movies, the run-of-the-mill movies.
Right.
So things have really changed. If you look at their schedule, you won't find much right now. So within the next couple of months, we're trying to normalize. When we say normalize, of course, that's a new normal. Movie distributors are also working with us. So in terms of getting new movies within the next several months, and we're predicting up until November, we would see new movies coming in almost like every 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Terry, let me cut in here. Sorry, excuse me. We're KUAM FM and Agotni, Guam. It is the KUAM News Takeover of Guam's favorite, containing COVID 93.9. Good morning to our viewers on TV 11. Thanks for jumping on the show. Proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. On the line, we have Terry Flores from Tango Theaters, and we're talking about Tango Theaters proposed, July 1st, okay? You're going to be able to go to the movies, and we'll just jump right back into it, talking about movie releases and how they've been thrown all awry because of COVID-19. So when you open on July 1st, Terry, what are we going to be watching on the big screen?
Well, on the big screen, I mean, right now, scheduled for opening on July 3rd is Unhinged. It's a Russell Crowe movie, and then by July 10, the Christopher Nolan thriller Tenet, and then of course July 24 is Mulan. So in between these movies, because we have 17 screens, 12 at Micro Mall and 5 at Agana, we're also looking at the comeback of several family films like Scooby-Doo 2 and Trolls. And there was a request for A Quiet Place 2, so we're working with our buyer to secure these movies.
Nice.
If you've been keeping tabs of the movie industry, these movies that I mentioned, Trolls, A Quiet Place 2, and Scooby-Doo 2, what they did was put them on streaming services. Amazon Prime showed them, and you have to pay a certain fee to watch them. But that was just a stopgap measure by the industry to make sure that the industry stays alive.
Right.
But of course, because theaters in the U.S., drive-in theaters opened as early as as of May 1st. So now other states, depending on the mandate of the state government, they've started reopening. So now we're seeing indoor theaters open in the U.S. and right now here.
What about
that's been the trend.
Right. Terry, what about the snacks and stuff? When you guys open July 1st, we're going to be able to get the popcorn and all that. Is that what you're looking at?
Of course, we will be offering that. And, it's going to be very safe at our concession stands because we have installed the plexiglass right in front of the cashier. So aside from the mandatory face mask, we also have that protection. It's the same one that you see at the bank.
Right.
It's not something that you will be surprised about seeing at the theaters.
I wanted to ask about the seating. And you said it's you're still going to maintain the social distancing, but with the kids and families, you said Mulan was coming out. Are families going to be able to sit together, or are they going to be spread out?
Well, that's our proposal, that families and groups, how groups are. They start with 2 and then they grow up to 4. The regular family is 4 or 6. So what we will do is we will sit couples and families together, and then the next party will be 6 feet apart from them. As far as high risk 60-plus customers are concerned, of course, we will be much more careful in seating them as well. So there will be an usher in every auditorium to monitor the crowd, the incomings and outgoings of the crowd.
What about the hours? Are you going to have to change hours of operation?
For now, we're still maintaining the 12 noon. until 8 o'clock hours, and 8 o'clock being the last movie of the day. But of course, we will be adapting to whatever recommendations the government will give us.
Mm-hmm. What about the cleaning and between the movies?
Okay. If you're an avid moviegoer, you will notice that previously we showed movies every 30 minutes. So now there will be a 45-minute gap in every movie, because we will be cleaning and desensitizing the auditoriums as well as, the common areas in the theater. And this is to ensure that, our customers are safe and they are in a safe environment. We've got hand sanitizers all throughout the theaters. We've got, we have made them available to everybody. Of course, everyone should be wearing face masks, and we will be very cognizant of the social distancing.
Terry, I don't know how it works, but because I saw in the States that they're starting to, when they do more of the movie theater reopenings, they're looking at re-releasing classic, big blockbuster movies. The one I had heard about was Inception from Christopher Nolan. So how does it work with Tango? Do you guys have like a library of movies that, not the new ones, but ones that have come out in years past that you can just pop on? Or are we going to see any of those type of offerings from the chain?
Well, the good thing about Tango is that we can be flexible with the movies that we will be showing. So, if the public has a certain request for a certain movie, then we will ask our buyer. This is the liaison between us and the movie distributor to get the movie here. Or we could come up with a promo where we will show just old movies.
Right, like you did on Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah. So right now, we're going to still maintain the promos that we currently have, but at the same time, we will be flexible with what the market dictates.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Are we going to see this push maybe with Tango Theaters, with online ticket sales?
Yes, of course, Sabrina. That will still be implemented. In fact, we encourage that. Right. We encourage cashless transaction, and this is a way to mitigate, the lesser contact between our team members and the public. Okay. So that's one of the recommendations that we have made, and one of the protocols that we have instituted in the cinema.
All right.
So if you pay through card, we welcome that. Either it's on face-to-face transaction, or if you want to go online, the online services are still working.
All right.
Well, Terry, it sounds like you definitely, I know you definitely have the ducks in the row, and we're so excited. July 1st, it seems so far away now.
Right. Right. We really missed our community because, again, theaters on Guam is a communal experience.
Right. Yeah.
And we really would like to see you back. Earlier, listening to Lani, yes, definitely, our small businesses really need the help in order for us to survive. And the theaters is no different. Right. Because we're locally owned, there is not a big conglomerate, or we're not part of a theater chain in the U.S. We also face the same struggles as local businesses face. So it is important for us to ask the support of our local community to support us at this time. It's very important.
Well, I'll see you on July 1st, Terry. That's for sure.
Well, we would like to see you back again, Chris and Sabrina, and of course our loyal customers. Not only that, our local community as well. So, if you have a movie in mind and you want to watch it in the widescreen, you may get in touch with us. We have the official Tango Theaters Facebook page. Just leave a message there. We're good at replying back. And then if you want to know more about movie schedules, there is the tangotheaters.com website. So hopefully we will be able to populate that very soon. But, don't expect to see what you saw before. Again, we're going to be operating in the standards of the new normal.
Okay, right. Terry. Well, thanks you so
Terry.
much. And we'll bring you on before you open. You want to update us on anything, okay?
Of course. Thank you so much, Chris and Sabrina. You have a good morning.
Wash your hands, Terry, and thanks for waking up for us today.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, bye. All right, Terry. Hey, it's 8:09. We'll take a short break for our anthems. We'll do news, and then we got Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Josh Tenorio, coming up here on Containing COVID.
Kantai mantunat nyagi toru ilugar para honra para gloria abibai islasen para honra para gloria abibai islasen para gitodui tempui pas para ita dan gini langit na bendisyon kontrai peligro na fansafuham tus protehis langwong kontrai peligro na fansafuham tus protehis langwong.
You guys remember this one? Mr. Keith, Slow Wine, the remix. I miss Mr. Keith. He's out here in Guam. I think he moved out to Sacramento and he's doing that stateside thing. 8:13, it's containing COVID. We got news on tap, but I wanted to bring on a caller as Bree. There was a news that came out from St. Anthony.
It was a letter from the principal.
Right, a letter from the principal. Was this to parents or something?
Yes, it was. But you said somebody's on the phone?
Yeah. So, ma'am, I guess, first of all, did you get the letter that went out from the principal of St. Anthony? Ma'am?
Oh, no. I didn't receive a letter, but so St. Anthony Catholic School employees tested positive, and the principal and the vice principal are still asking employees to report to work when public health advised against it. Parents have not been notified of the employee who tested positive. So yes, if there was a letter sent out, why only just now that they're sending out a letter? And parents and students were on campus May 29th and thereafter, potentially being exposed.
So you're an employee at St. Anthony's?
No, I'm a family member, a concerned family member of an employee that works at St. Anthony Catholic School.
Right. Yeah, I just got the email, I want to say, was it last night? I might. Anyway, I just got the email, and I saw it this morning. But, yeah, you're right. It was from the principal about
what
that it's closed until further notice. If you are on campus May 22nd to May 29th, please notify the administration. The administration, faculty, and staff are working with the Guam Department of Public Health and Social Services to ensure the safety of all. As always, the safety of our students and employees is the top priority. But, you know, he wrote that I'd like to inform you that an employee of SACS has tested positive for COVID-19. So, yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, Sabrina is a St. Anthony parent, by the way, guys.
I was surprised when I got this because I had no idea.
Yeah, so I just, I wanted to reach out to the media because it's really mind-boggling, and I just feel bad for those parents that came in and are potentially exposed, and the school had very poor actions of addressing it only just yesterday.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean,
Do you know why they're just addressing it now? I mean, since you're a family member to somebody who works there?
You know what? I'm not too sure. I really think it's all about a money issue, about exposing them. For me, it's all about money. Having them come into work, and for what? There's no need. It's not essential right now. School's not operational. What do they need to go into St. Anthony for?
Has the school said that there's going to be any testing of employees?
You know, I'm not too sure. I just wanted to call in to let the public know.
Right. Yeah. We feel your frustration. I mean, that is nuts to get a letter on June 15th saying that if you were at the school at the end of May, I mean, that's a huge gap.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your family member, they were told to go to work today.
It happened they were advised yesterday, so I don't know if they're still if he or she is still going to work today.
Okay. Wow, but you're saying that this whole time they've been in and out of that campus.
And there's no need to go into the school if you're not essential. Come on, school's not operation. It's summer break. You know, with the public health being extended until June 30th, what do you possibly need to go into school for? I understand there's enrollment, but as of right now, we don't even know what curriculum will be like. So I don't know why the staff needs to come in if it's not essential right now.
Have you heard anything that school is going to start back up in July?
I happened to call because I was strongly considering enrolling my child at St. Anthony, but because of this, I feel very discouraged because it makes me question whether or not I want to enroll my child, because I did call and I said possibly July 6th they're looking at from only kinder through second grade.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about. I just heard there was talks about possibly opening in July, but I haven't heard anything since then. I haven't gotten any. This was I think this is the last letter I got from St. Anthony, which was today, and it was pretty significant hearing that someone tested positive.
Ma'am, your family member, do you feel like their job is in jeopardy if they just say, hey, I don't want to come to work until we sort all this out? Because that's what I would just be like, no, I don't want. I'm good. I'm not going to come in for a while.
No, I think it's the fact that we're only finding out about it now is what's concerning. Because remember the grab and go when somebody tested positive, they shut it down midday. It's everybody leave, nobody come until everybody is tested.
Yes.
So well, it sounds like we got to get Juan Flores on the line.
Yeah,
Why the delay?
Yeah, I wanted to just reach out and thank you guys for your time.
No, thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great day and be safe and wash your hands and wear a mask.
Thank you.
Call off maybe later on. Message me. We should exchange notes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
take care.
Okay, bye.
8:19. Interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything until I had a chance to call. But thank you for calling, because now it's out there. Yeah, I was going to call about this and...
How does that make you feel, Bree, that, as a parent of a St. Anthony student, that you get a notice June 15th that anybody who may have been at the school during the last week of May, I mean, it's like a 2-week delay.
My son hasn't been to school since it closed way back when. But, we'd have to pick up books and things like that. But he has not been there.
Right.
And I have not been there since then. But the fact that we're finding out now, it kind of bothers me.
It does. I bet it does. And I know you get pretty bothered. Like, I feel like if I just keep asking you about it, we're going to see just how bothered you are.
We're going to see like a legislative session.
No, because they're really hammering people to pay that tuition. So we know people have been going in because they're on them about the tuition.
Yeah.
But why did it take so long? Good question. And hopefully we'll find an answer before 10 o'clock. Hey, let's keep it going on the phones. And we do it every week, our weekly update with Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. Good morning, LT.
Hey, good morning. I was just listening to the conversation, and the first thing that comes to mind is that as we continue to relax these conditions, we need to be cognizant that there are more than 30 active cases of COVID still on this island. And I think this is a reminder that we really need to watch where we're going, document where we're going, and take the precautions and wear that mask, wash those hands, and, really just be safe. And in this case, I'm just thinking about if I were a parent, I want to know more information, and I totally can feel you, Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I would want to know who tested positive, what part of the school did they work in.
I already know.
Oh, she already knows. So if I just keep pumping you, you're going to tell me?
I'm not.
Oh, darn it. All right. Okay, LT. Sorry you had to witness that little...
No. I mean, I haven't heard. This is the first time hearing about it too, so I'm curious to see what the details are. I did want to, I guess, wrap in a couple things to this call. The first is that, you've been hearing some of the announcements, and you'll hear more details about really an island-wide for island-wide
Well, you're breaking up, LT. Are you there?
of GVB.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you just rewind a little bit because you were breaking up?
Sorry, I'm in transit.
Oh.
So I wanted to just push out, to stay tuned for the details. But on June 27th, as you likely have been reporting, there is a challenge for an island-wide cleanup, and we're very fortunate that GVB and GHRA and the business partners are coming, but we're working with the government and the mayors, and I just really want to extend that to homeowners. Honor before June 27th, clean up around your house. Maybe the rights of way that are near your property, your places of business. Just being conscious and trying to participate in this effort would be excellent.
Right.
And the other thing I wanted to, unrelated to this, the other thing, and I'm not sure if anybody talked to about this, but it is Pride Month, and I'm really happy that the Supreme Court of the United States issued out a landmark decision today. Have you talked about this yet?
Yeah, we ran it this morning.
So, I wanted to say that this is good news because in the last week, there have been 3 federal actions that really have been done to push back and suppress equality for trans people. The first one was Secretary of Education DeVos threatened the state of Connecticut for them allowing transgendered students to play in sports. And she went and threatened federal funding that supports their school district. The second, under Housing and Urban Development, prohibited and banned transgendered individuals from taking up shelter in shelters designated for sexes that they identify with. And the third major one is the revision of the Affordable Care Act and the protections of trans persons to access health care. Now, all these 3 actions, I would think now, will be further examined with this latest Supreme Court decision. And I just wanted to say that in Guam in 2015, the local legislature passed the Gender Equality Act against employment discrimination. But there are still, as you know, a lot of trans people serving in the military that are actively being purged, and there are those that are being prohibited now from joining. So, although obviously we're dealing with a public health crisis, I really felt compelled to bring this up and be very grateful and thankful that despite us having the very conservative Supreme Court majority, they were able to really come out and do the right thing and make sure that equality means equality for everyone, and independent of your sexual orientation or your sexual identity.
Right, LT, I'm sure if it had come out any other way, we probably would have maybe seen more riots on top of everything that's happening with Black Lives Matter. So, I mean, I love the timing of it during Pride Month, and you're right. I mean, I knew that the ruling would go this way. I had a feeling it would, but with the conservative judges there, I mean, it could have easily gone the other way. And what's sad about that is we might not have even been surprised by it.
Right. Exactly. This is a very different experience that we find ourselves living in all aspects here in the island and even in our country and in the world.
You know,
But I just wanted to point that out.
No, you brought up June 27th about the Give Us a Moment cleanup, but June 27th is also another significant date, I believe. And Lazia was on our show last week. Isn't there some sort of a virtual global Pride commemoration on that day? On the 27th? Are you there? Hello?
LT?
Oh, man.
Okay. I'm pretty sure a callback. Well, is there, Bree? Is there a...
Right. I want to say that because she was mentioning how they were recording a video.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's supposed to be, I thought it was on June 27th, an event. It's our event. It's like a global, is it a global parade?
I think we got it back. Were
Here
you
it
able to
is.
catch that, LT?
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I totally lost you guys.
Yeah.
I was mentioning how June 27th, that's not just, it's significant for the island-wide beautification and cleanup event, but it's also another day that, according to Lazia, when she was on the show last week, it's some sort of a global virtual event for Pride Month.
Yeah, there is because there is because of a lot of the Pride celebrations are canceled or postponed or downsized because of the public health threat. There is a virtual Pride, and if you're interested in looking at it, you can just do a quick search, internet search for Global Pride, and there's a link. And they are going to be featuring a bunch of video messages from throughout the world, and also featuring some speakers. So, and so for us, I believe I needed to double check but I on whether or not that means we're staying late night on the 27th or into the 28th because of the time change.
Right.
I think
But Guam has a message in, right?
Yes. So they asked us to submit one, and one of them, and it's kind of interesting because if you watch it, you might feel it might be dated at this point with the decision, because one of the messages I sent was recognizing the efforts of Guam to protect LGBTQ residents from employment discrimination back in 2015, and calling for the same to be done nationally with passage of the Equality Act. And so it kind of obviously today there's the employment discrimination is going to be prohibited, but there are still areas in housing, education, and health that we need to make sure follow suit. And so there is still a lot more work to be done. But I think for me, Bree and Chris, the one thing for me on Pride is I always want to maybe reach out to parents, relatives of LGBTQ people, especially youth, that are struggling with this. Many parents, because of religious differences, become alienated or alienate their kids from themselves because of this conflict in their value system. And like I said, in the past, and I've talked to young people and to some parents, just trying to open your heart to your kids despite their sexual preference, and focusing on all the wins that they can have in their life, and steer them away from the other path. The other path is alienating or kicking your kids out, for them to become homeless, for them to end up having substance abuse problems, for them committing suicide. Those are all high-risk areas for gay youth.
Yeah, you still hear that, LT. I mean, there are some, I guess, success stories. In my family where you have an older uncle whose child is out, and they just don't have that relationship. But then on other side, you see the total opposite. But you're right. I mean, still here in 2020, still hearing families on Guam are divided, where one child has come out and the parents or one of the parents or both in some cases just want to have nothing to do with them at all.
Right. They're embarrassed or shamed or downright disagree with their kid. But, think about the humanity. Think about your kids when they first came into the world. Think about all the positive things. And sometimes you can't reconcile the difference in morality and the difference in values, but you can't take away from the love that your instinct would have for you to love your child or for the children to love the parents. And I think Pride is a good opportunity for people that are struggling with this to reach out to their loved ones and try and buy back or get back all the time that's been wasted and lost because of that.
LT, we've got to ask you about this latest development with Congressman San Nicolas, where a lot of people thought that this whole thing would end with the Office of Congressional Ethics. It has not ended. Instead, it has escalated into the formation of an entire ethics committee, subcommittee, to investigate our delegate for the charges, the allegations that we're all familiar with. But then there were some new things in there about him lying to investigators and also trying to obstruct this investigation. And I think a lot of media has glossed over that fact, whether intentional or not. And I think that, to me, is the biggest news out of this latest development, is that there are people in our nation's capital who believe that Delegate Michael San Nicolas lied to investigators and tried to obstruct the investigation into the allegations against him. I know you watch the news. I know you're well informed, so we just wanted to get your take on it, Lieutenant Governor.
Well, I guess the truth will come out soon enough. I guess when I came from the court system, so people make allegations, and people are presumed to be innocent until proven guilty, including in an administrative process. And I just say, out of respect for that office, that I expect that the congressman and his staff and former staff cooperate with the investigators, be truthful, and I think that they'll make a determination, and we'll all see what that is. But despite all of this, and the differences we have in policy, I would still give him the benefit of the doubt, because he still is entitled to the due process.
Mm-hmm. This despite the fact that at the beginning of all this, he was claiming that this was
a conspiracy.
Right.
Sorry.
Well,
I mean, he said it was a conspiracy from high-ranking members of his own party, and I'm only assuming. I mean, when I think of high-ranking members,
I fit his bill, right?
Yeah.
Well,
you're pretty
like
up there.
Said,
yeah.
Yeah. I guess I would just say that in the end, you just have to. People need to just be truthful, and then we'll see where the case takes us. But I think the fair thing is to wait and see this process run its course. I do recognize that the naming of the subcommittee is an escalation of that, and I think that this subcommittee has the power to subpoena, and at a certain point, its proceedings will be public. So we will all have an opportunity to take a look at it, done in a very bipartisan way, where there are 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans that are in this committee, and whatever their findings are, the balance of the ethics committee are the balance of the membership are the ones that are going to make a determination on what course of action, if any, will be taken, or to go in and support the facts that maybe the congressman has submitted on his behalf. So,
what do you make of the congressman's lack of willingness to kind of come out to the media? I mean, this has been an issue throughout his term. We see a lot of Facebook messages. I
think you guys are number one that he doesn't answer the calls, right? Based on the.
Don't sound too happy to say that.
No, I've been watching.
Yeah. No, so how? I mean, LT, and the way I look at it, it's like, I mean, take you for example, right? I mean, we got questions. You still call. You answer the questions, and that's all we really can do in the media is ask the question, and you give us an answer, and then it's kind of like one and done in a way, right? So I just feel like it would just be so easy for Congressman San Nicolas to kind of come out and do this.
I think for sure the people, I think that he should consider, sending a message to the people of Guam and maybe give them assurances that despite this situation going, that he still is able to remain focused on his job. This is a very critical time.
Yeah.
The federal aid that is here for the pandemic, the military relations, political status, federal relations, and all of the federal issues, federal territorial issues, are some of the top things that require the full attention and the best of every public official that is involved in it. And,
Amen.
I think that I would like to see him give those assurances to the people, and set aside all these differences and let's focus on what we can do together.
Right, you're right, because I think in all of our government, no disrespect to governor and lieutenant governor, but our delegate, right? He's the point man with the feds.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And I pay attention, and we've seen Khalili come out, we've seen Khalili pass out food, we've seen Khalili meet with the local leaders, but San Nicolas has been off island since before COVID, and when you look at his Facebook, it's like he's making itchy bang.
Have you or the governor had any conversations with the congressman? Actual conversations or talk, phone call, anything like that? Zoom?
No, for me, not. No.
It's too bad.
You or if the
know
governor
that
has?
Early on, the governor and him were texting about, when the White House was trying to really understand what was going on and what we were doing, and we've been very fortunate, and this is really, really strange. Can I just tell you I just have to tell everybody that know how, how I'm really identify with the Democrats, but I've got to say the Trump administration's Intergovernmental Affairs Office has been really excellent to partner with. It's so interesting for me to see this. And I don't mind saying that the communication and access that we have, including you saw the evidence of that when we were able to get the Treasury Department to be in line with us when we were paying our reparations out. And then now with the Roosevelt, with COVID, trying to identify assets, they have been excellent. If we did not have that, I think that we would be certainly in a lesser state than we are today. And I do also want to, express my thanks to Congressman Khalili, who has been very proactive, including contacting us and offering to help on education front, on the interior front.
You got the delegate from NMI calling you, offering help, but our own delegate is not calling?
Well, we're...
No, seriously, only text message?
That's crazy.
Really?
Well, obviously it's a awkward relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But like I said, always willing to talk. Despite him and his office going through this, there still is a reason and still time for us to work together and focus on the things that are important to people.
Right. Okay, I was going to say, if we could go ahead and get an update based on the updates that you got. I know we ask about homeless all the time.
Right.
So
yeah.
Is there been any movement?
I'll be honest with you and tell you that I'm counting now that this is the fourth time that we had to go back out. We are there is active procurement going on right now, but we've had to amend our plans 4 times already to try and meet the kind of the situation going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I would just tell you honestly that we're still working. We're behind schedule. This is one area that I don't feel that we're ahead yet, but I'm not hopeless. We're still trying to push things, and I'm really expecting that I will have better news to tell you next Monday. But I'm doing a considerable amount of work on that right now, personally.
Hey, something out of the land trust. I don't know if you saw this, but the governor nominated someone to replace Chair Pika Farron, whose term had expired. Was there any overture at all made to keep Pika on, or do you think that was just a relationship that had run its course?
Well, I would say that she's been finishing up a term that started in the last administration.
Mm-hmm.
There's another vacancy coming up, and I've been getting some messages and getting phone calls from people advocating for Pika and her continued involvement in the land trust. I'm pretty certain that the governor is, listening, considering all of that, and we'll see what happens. But I think that, I always appreciate people that are willing to volunteer and get involved.
Right.
So, but on that, I would just say that, it's still as recent as yesterday, I was speaking to some people about that.
Yeah,
Right.
I just happened to go on the legislature's website, and I
maybe
found
I'll
that
just say,
another nomination was made, or appointment was made for somebody else to replace her.
Right.
So I was wondering what
But,
happened.
I'll just point out, for example, right, on boards, there several weeks ago, there was a whole bunch of press about Dave Lott and his seat on the Historic Review Board.
Right.
And, Dave and the governor met, finally, but, prior to that, he had indicated he wasn't interested in being reappointed, and he changed his mind. He still wants to serve. The governor spoke to him, and he has been reappointed, or I believe in the process of being reappointed. So sometimes it's just miscommunication, or you just need to be able to talk to people to find out really what's going on.
Right. Okay. Is there any other updates? We had somebody on the line earlier today. He was really, really just upset and really frustrated because from what he understood and from what I believe phone calls he's had with, I believe, with DOL, I believe, regarding PUA and FPUC, and the fact that because he is enrolled in the SNAP program, that there's a possibility that he might lose his SNAP benefits because he would be receiving, or if he were to receive, a PUA and FPUC. And
I just was reading some of those articles, and I need to find out more information about that.
Right.
Yeah, he was really concerned because
that it was. Yeah, I need to get more visibility on it, and the way I see it is, SNAP is, first of all, SNAP program also is dynamic, meaning that it requires people to continue to certify their eligibility for enrollment.
Right.
I just need to find out from the technocrats what's going on and what the situation is.
Yeah.
And so he's saying that he's been made ineligible because of the unemployment benefits that he'll get paid.
He was basically saying that he was informed by Public Health that if he applied for the Department of Labor, or the unemployment assistance, that he would lose his SNAP benefits because it would bump him above the eligibility requirement.
Right, and I know that some employers are, this is on top of that, nationally, there's a lot of discussion about how some of the people that are going to be receiving the unemployment benefits are going to be receiving benefits that are a bit more than what they're already making. Mm-hmm. There's a little something there, but I'm actually, I have that on my radar to find out from all of the eligibility specialists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
let us know.
I was going to say, there's also the issue that somebody else has called us about with the Department of Administration and this supposed massive backlog of processing of applications for the Programan Salapi Zudani Tautau program.
Yeah, and so that one, all complete applications have been processed rather timely. The backlog are all of the incomplete applications that, maybe they're, and that's when I spoke to,
right.
I think last week, where, we're giving up until June 30th for people to be contacted and to bring back the missing portions of their record as they go forward. Some of them are duplicates. Yesterday, we were informed that they already found 500 applications that were for duplicate, meaning some people in a household applied by themselves, but they've also been listed in households, and that's some of the stuff they're reconciling. But I think that we have a large number of people that are working on that right now. And Programan Salapi, though, from the DOA, perspective, I'd say their processing has been on point so far. And for me right now, the big one I'm monitoring every day is pushing for the PUA claims to be paid, and monitoring what's going on with the vendor and the processing and the processing centers.
Are you aware if DOL has come up with that final payment process plan with the banks? Because I know that was one of the things that Dave was talking about.
Yes, that's done already. I think now, in fact, I just read some email early this morning that I'm going to talk about in this meeting I'm about to head to that indicates that there's some bunch of progress that's been made.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything
well, have
else?
a good day, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, LT.
And then, Sabrina, I'm going to keep my ear out to the situation up at St. Anthony, but I would just say this is a reminder to everybody, again, be very diligent in what you're doing every day and try and mitigate the risk.
Right. All right.
Okay, talk
Thank
to you later.
you.
Okay, wash your hands.
Take care.
Okay. 8:47. We'll take a short break and let's go switch sides a little bit. Flip it and get the Republican Party's Juan Carlos Benitez on the line at 8:47. It is the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite containing COVID, and it's all proudly brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus, gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
fried chicken, red rice, and mashed potatoes, all I have to do is sing this ditty. Call 300-FAST to get your KFC delivery. Woohoo! One more time. Call 300-FAST to get your KFC delivery. Stay safe. Call 300-3278. KFC. It's finger licking good.
I-94 containing COVID. Oh, we had a funny comment here.
What?
Stay tuned for the Republican blame game. Let's see whose own fault it is today. Well, nice to talk to you too, Juan Carlos. Let's get Juan Carlos Benitez from the Republican Party of Guam. I know you also do some work in D.C. Chris and Sabrina here. Thanks for coming on, Juan Carlos.
Hi. You there?
Hello, Juan Carlos.
Good morning.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now. We have, yes. Okay, good.
Have a warm half a day and a wonderful morning. It's a beautiful morning this day.
It's a weird one. It's kind of like overcast. It's one of those, it looks like it's going to rain, but is it going to rain kind of days?
I say plants in Guam love rain, so any rain we can get here, it's always welcome.
Right. And, talking about rains, I wonder if you guys are thinking in the Republican Party that maybe Congressman San Nicolas's reign is over. Is there, you guys on the Republican side I know you're running Will Castro, are you guys seeing at all blood in the water right now, Juan Carlos?
Well, I have to say that all this turmoil and news coverage is definitely positive for our candidate. It shows disarray in the Democratic Party. But I have to tell you, one of my jobs is to try to convince people to run for public office. And what is becoming one of our biggest challenges is that as soon as you have anybody running for public offices, all these allegations start coming in about acts that they have done or they have not done, and how they're benefiting or taking advantage of the people in different locations. No one's immune. You see this time where people complain about the governor hiring her son-in-law as a general counsel. You end up having her son leading the PPP task force and how the funds are going to be used in that. And people can argue those things, but at the end of the day, these allegations permanently affect the way that your family will see you and interact with you. It permanently affects the way the local community is going to deal and do with you. The allegations that Congressman San Nicolas is facing are extremely serious on their own, and if they're true, we all agree his career in politics is probably done. But at this stage, I'm concerned about trying to address the specific allegations that are being addressed. I don't mind addressing the process and where we are in the process, and how those impact our other candidates.
Mm-hmm. So is former Congressman Robert Underwood's assessment of the situation being escalated? Would you agree with that?
If you want to call it escalated, maybe the difference is I'm an attorney, and he's not. So this would be sort of going from a grand jury investigation, and where the arguments brought up in front of the grand jury, whether you take all the allegations as being correct, would you have enough to proceed with the case? Would you win the case, right? If I have an individual arguing that you assaulted him, and there's enough evidence that's being presented to you, if taking them to be true, then you would have to proceed. And that's sort of the next step. It now goes into investigation. Now is where people, what I call the rubber meets the road, because people are going to be going through depositions, and it's a 5-year prison term if you lie to any investigator from the House on this issue.
So basically, in legalese, this is an indictment, and now it's in trial, or going to trial.
No, now it's in a investigation, and then after the investigation, they'll decide whether they're going to hold a trial or not.
I see.
What are the possible outcomes, Juan Carlos? I know that we had spoke about this. I don't know if it was earlier this year, but after they complete the investigation, if there are findings,
what happens?
And they find that this allegation's true, this one they tried to cover it up, they lied about it. We found out it's true. Do they basically present this to our delegate and say these are the findings of the investigation? Either you resign or we make them public. Is that kind of like the process? Because that's what I've heard in different instances involving different types of investigations.
Well, in the inside federal administrations, normally when you have Inspector General investigation and the investigation is not going in the right direction, normally they will do the gentlemanly and give you an opportunity to say, hey, the evidence started mounting in this case, and if we continue to follow the investigation, we feel we'll end up filing charges. Are you interested in staying in the position, or are you at this stage considering just removing yourself? That's on the executive. I've seen that repeatedly. In the House, I've seen something similar, but it depends on the charges, right? So, are you guys still online?
Yes.
Yeah, we're letting you talk.
Okay. So, financials, mishandlings that are not don't reach a certain level normally will just bring either a warning or a fine. Similar situation, I think Congresswoman Marin Bordaya was accused of staying at her sister's house, which was in her sister-in-law's house, which was at the outrigger. So that at the end was an admonistation. I don't even think they fined her. There was no monetary fine in that issue. Now, the allegations that I've heard in the past, and I don't know if they were made into the federal system, but I heard locally, was the fact that one of the checks was not signed by his father. Those are serious allegations, which are considered to be moral turpitude, and the allegations of having an affair with another member of the House of your staff, that is also grounds for separation. Those are the two big ones in D.C. When you look at these issues. So,
what about the possible lying to federal investigators?
It's a 5-year. That's a 5-year fine if you do it on their oath. But the question is, if you have two people with different recollections of an event, then the question is there was intent, right?
So, in your opinion, what does it mean when we get a release from the ethics committee that has sentences in it like that, where they say, did he lie to investigators? Did he obstruct the investigation? I mean, because that's new information in there.
No, for me, those are the charges that have been presented after the interviews that they've had. So I would assume that those were some of the charges that they saw. They normally just copy everything that is being considered and presented.
I think
if you look at the release was also made at the time where they cleared another case, right? They cleared the case of the congressman that was found sleeping having a relationship with his staffer, but then it turns out that he had married her a year before and had not told anybody, right? So he had an exception for that. And then they're telling you this other case we're proceeding with.
Okay. But we're not talking like jail time or anything. We're just talking about fines.
Well, jail time. Anyone that lies to a House officer should really take a deep breath before they do it, because you are facing the potential of having faced jail time. The example was during the Bush administration. The Undersecretary of Interior, Griles, I'm forgetting his first name, was asked if he had a relationship with a lobbyist. Nothing to do with the facts, just a question during the interview. He got upset. He didn't think it was a purview of the staffer to ask that. It didn't relate to the argument. And he said, I don't want to answer that. The staffer asked again, and he said, no, I don't have a relationship with that lobbyist. And then the lobbyist testified and said, oh yeah, we've had sexual relationships a couple times. He had to spend 5 years in prison.
Wow.
5 years in prison. So it doesn't happen every time, but it is something that is not a hollow threat.
Right.
So it's not treated as a hollow threat.
I wanted to ask you about. I know that I don't think it's a secret that the Republicans have had a good working relationship with Congressman Michael Nicholas. H.R. 1365, I think it was, the war claims bill. We saw Republican senators out there lobbying for this bill and working with the congressman. So have you had any conversations with the congressman?
I mean, I think he's even shouted you out, Juan Carlos, a few times.
He did. Yeah. Oh, in the past, yes, on the willingness to work bipartisan. We've expressed that willingness to work bipartisanly to both the governor and the congressman. The congressman has taken us on it in the past, and we're still waiting. Hopefully, at some point, the governor might, because we really think that the idea here is for us all to work together. And we were extremely successful in the war claims. I'm excited to say that the checks have started to flow into Guam, and I think we expect over 1,000 checks to be received before the end of this month on the war claim. As we've been informed by the war claims committee, so that is exciting.
Is it awkward at all, Juan, with I mean, you've had this close relationship with Congressman Nicholas, and now you're running someone against him. Is it awkward at all? I'm just wondering.
No. I think the party, we've been very clear. He's asked for the assistance of the party. The party was already working on this issue before, and we've had a good time, a good ability to work both sides of the aisle, and that's always a good strategy on bipartisan issues. But it doesn't change the fact that the party feels that if we are able to get a Republican candidate in Congress, that he would have a better relationship or a more direct relationship with the White House. The same way we had a Republican governor. It doesn't change that fact. And it's politics. And I don't like fighting people on gossips, on issues like that. I like fighting people on policy issues and stance that we have.
But we're not really talking about.
Lifer,
are we talking about
I believe in that.
Gossip, though? I mean, we have an entire subcommittee that was formed. Because it seems like it's beyond the gossip.
Right now, I don't know exactly what they have. What I have heard and I have seen are allegations at this point. And as I said before, I don't want to go into them because I want to give an opportunity to the individuals to have their day in what is the equivalent to court here.
Right. Let me ask you this one, not gossip, right? So
and let me tell you, if he's guilty of committing the things that are alleged, that's the end of his political career, right. and it's a pity. But I am upset and tired of this politics in Guam, where you run for public office and the first thing they do is a smear attack on everything that relates to you or your family.
Let me ask you this.
That's not how I like to win elections.
Right. One this one is kind of beyond gossip, but one of the allegations was that he accepted a $10,000 over-the-limit donation from Korean businessman Andy Park. And then we saw recently that his campaign refunded $9,000 to Andy Park. And we now hear from a couple sources that the Ethics Committee has interviewed people on island about this donation. So when you have something like that, like you were accused of accepting a $10,000 donation, and then however many months later, you end up refunding $9,000 to one individual. How is that not an admission of guilt? I'm just curious.
No, I don't disagree. But again, when we're talking about the allegations, that happens in Congress all the time. If you look at all the elections that you're going to see statewide or locally, you end up with donations that are being refunded or sent back because later on the people understand or realize that there was a mistake made at the time. That could be, I would expect that would be a fine that he's going to receive and a substantial one. That would be my expectation on it. But that doesn't raise to the level of the committee removing the individual. That's been my past experience.
What about the alleged forgery of his father's signature that was alleged by the former chief of staff? Do you think that would be an offense that maybe the committee would say, hey, we got you on this? Do you want to resign?
Hey, forgery is a crime of moral turpitude for a particular banking document. That's a serious allegation, and if it's proven to be true, that is a real that will receive we treat it seriously.
And it's crazy because we haven't seen the dad. I mean, the dad's all over social media. Any story about Mike St. Nicholas, they're spamming the comments, but we've never seen the dad come out and say that's not true. My son didn't forge my signature, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think the other reason I called was basically, and I appreciate that you had me right after the lieutenant governor. It is nice to hear a Democratic lieutenant governor touting the wonderful work that President Trump has been doing with Guam and our territories. It's a work that continues.
I got it on tape, Juan.
Yeah. It's interesting. He obviously said the congressional office is doing a really bad job, but the relationship with Trump is really good, which I appreciate. So I think we will take 100% of anything that happens in D.C. as being exclusively done by President Trump and without the assistance of anybody.
Right.
But it's wonderful to see him say that, and it is true. The Trump administration has been working on a bipartisan manner with the territories, not just with the governors and the congressional offices, but also with the local legislatures. It's nice when everybody's getting answers. We just had a Guam Chamber of Commerce meeting with Doug Holcher, who came up and gave us time from Air Force One to talk to the business in Guam and make sure that any concern that our private industry was facing, they were aware of. So that's great to see, and I appreciate that. It wasn't like that during the Obama administration, even though everybody thought it would have been. But I'm excited the times we have right now. Let's hope that President Trump wins 4 more years and we continue this. But I do want to talk about some of the wonderful things that are happening in D.C. that people might not be focusing on. If you guys had a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday, little fanfare in Guam, Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, Republican senator, introduced a bill in Congress that will amend the Internal Revenue Code to exclude income from controlled foreign corporations that reside in territories from U.S. taxation. And that is a very technical process, but it is an effort that is supported by the White House and the number one economist for President Trump and person in charge of reviving our economy, Dr. Navarro. And the idea is to bring manufacturing of pharmaceuticals back into the United States. Puerto Rico used to have 73 pharmaceuticals and manufacturing all forms of drugs and IT equipment in Puerto Rico, and closed shop when the Democratic movement passed to eliminate what was called Section 936 of the U.S. Tax Code, eliminating benefits. This is an attempt that I think is going to be successful, and I was very grateful that Senator Wicker, with our support and the call from all our friends, was willing to include all the territories in the exception. Should this bill pass into law, it would open Guam to become actually an IT and pharmaceutical manufacturing location for the United States. It'd be great.
Well, and can I ask you about the HEROES Act? And I know that past the House, we're looking at more stimulus, but is this something you think is going to survive the Republican Senate? Are we going to get another stimulus, Juan Carlos? Can you pull those Republican strings?
Well, I probably can, but President Trump can. And President Trump has stated all along that he's looking at doing one more stimulus package. He CARES Act Part 3, and it's Dr. Navarro mentioned the other day that he's looking at it to be somewhere north of $2 trillion at the end in infrastructure development and benefits. But I don't think it's going to be a copy of the HEROES Act. I think a lot of that's in the HEROES Act. We won't see in the final piece of legislation.
Right. So how much do you think they're going to whittle away? Because wasn't the HEROES Act, it was like you get a card, and then when it runs out, they replenish it. Was that the...
I really don't have the HERO Act in front of me, and I would have to refresh with it. I know it has a lot of requirements that I did not agree with, and neither did the Republican administration or the president. I think it had a $2,000 incentive back to the people. I know that the president has talked about an additional incentive, but I don't know the amount. I think the other thing that did happen through Congress that did not get a lot of local fanfare, surprisingly, is the U.S. Senate just passed an NDAA for 2021, and it has over $700 billion in work. But for me, one of the things that is interesting that it brought up, it states that U.S. And the government of Singapore just signed an agreement on December of 2019 to establish a fighter jet training facility in Guam. So that's wonderful to hear, and it'll be interesting to welcome our fellow Pacific Islanders from Singapore, spending more of a permanent time here in Guam from now on.
That's good. All right.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, we talked a lot about national politics, but I wanted to just talk about local politics. And it is an election year. We have a Democrat supermajority over at the Guam legislature. Are you guys recruiting for candidates? I know a lot of the times we haven't seen usually it's like a full 15 from the Republicans running. Where are you guys with recruiting people?
We're doing great. It's been I would say it's been a wonderful season, not only because we've been able to convince candidates like Tony Ada, Frank Blatz Jr., and Joanne Brown, and others to really consider to come back into office, but we're bringing a new cadre of young individuals. We also have some former cabinet members like J.I. Cruz and others that have expressed their interest in running and participating on the Republican banner. I really think, as far as I've been in Guam, this is the best shot that we have to regain our majority in the local legislature, and we look forward to it. I think the fact that we have continued to refuse to bring back the 4% GRT to help our small business and community to manage with the ongoing economic crisis to their businesses. The fact that there's no type of there's been an increase in the ways in which you have to do business with all this coronavirus related expenditures. and then limitation of the number of people that can attend or participate of your business without any type of offset into those businesses so that they can continue to be successful is something that is concerning. I think recently we had Java Junction announce that they were no longer going to be in operation, and they joined a number of restaurants and concepts. I think Chuck E. Cheese has already stated that they're not going to be able to reopen. The number just keeps climbing, and I think a lot of people are saying if this local legislature is unwilling to give them the assistance they need to survive, the ones that will be barely making it are looking for a change.
We had the newly elected Democratic Party of Chairperson Sarah Thomas Nedadog on our show last week, and she was talking about, we should come together, want to meet with the Republican Party of Guam.
She wants to have tea with Jim Moylan.
Well, first, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I just wanted to know, have you guys engaged with Sarah?
I have personally not. I think she's a wonderful appointment. It is a breath of fresh air that to have somebody with her reputation leading the Democratic Party. I hope it shows a new sign and direction of where the parties might be able to work together with each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was nice of you.
I think it was a good appointment. I was surprised. I was happily surprised.
Juan, I was really surprised when we interviewed her that she didn't tippy-toe around the problems that we're seeing with the Democrat administration, Democrat supermajority. I mean, there was even one point where she said, yeah, people are calling for more credibility from the administration, and it's an issue. So I kind of like that, she's not so blind that she wouldn't admit something like that. So, and then I think I think people want to hear that our elected leaders should work together. I mean, it's no brainer.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like you guys are doing because last election we elected a bunch of newbies, and it is what it is, good or bad, however you guys think of it. But in throwing out names like Frank Blas Jr., Tony Atta, I think you said La Morena, and
Joanne Brown.
Joanne Brown. Obviously, you guys are trying to go for the experience, right? These are like grown-up senatorial candidates.
You have Jack Cruz.
Right.
Okay.
So who are you guys planning to bring to the ballot, like new faces? Are you having an easy time recruiting total new candidates?
Absolutely, and I can tell you, as it stands right now, if the candidates that have already announced to the party come up, we'll end up having to have a primary election to whittle down to 15.
Wow.
We have substantially over 15 right now.
Oh, wow.
Where are they? Let's see them.
Well, you gotta give
Come on, Juan.
candidates the opportunities to announce their candidacy the way that they want to do it. You want a nice launching, and I am sure you will always be invited to all those launch ceremonies of the different candidates as they are made public in the coming days.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Yeah. Okay,
June 30th is the deadline. So.
Yeah. Hey, I do have one more thing because you mentioned deadline, and it reminded me. PPP, the PPP loan program that President Trump set up, it's set to sunset on June 30th. Okay. So come June 30th, no more small business will be able to apply for the loan. So I do encourage people to continue to have been debating about doing it or not. This is a great program. That loan becomes a grant if you spend it on salaries and rent and utilities. Just for 2 months, so it's a wonderful program. People should avail themselves.
Yeah. Okay, Juan. Thank you.
Thanks, Juan.
Bye.
We'll touch base next week. Wash your hands.
We'll do. Bye.
Okay, bye. Interesting. It's so interesting to me that you have a Democrat like former Delegate Robert Underwood, who I don't even want to say he's just independently impartial. Right, and how he's been talking about the delegate St. Nicholas, but then we get the Republicans that go on and they like really have a hard time saying anything bad about it. I just really feel bad for Will Castro, because if I'm Will Castro listening to Juan Carlos kind of like tiptoe around, Mike St. Nicholas's many issues, I would probably feel a little
hurt.
Yeah. Oh. You know what I mean? Anyway.
It's politics.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow, what a...
I mean, you never know. Like, if he was, Juan Carlos came out, what is he going to do? Like, oh, yeah, he's a bad guy, he's a bad guy, he's a bad guy.
Right,
And the
right.
Republicans look, God, you guys are so evil, you get no respect.
Right,
You know
yeah.
what
But I
mean?
think that's why they engage with him, too, is because it annoys the hell out of the Democrats. It's good politics. 9:21. Let's keep it on the phones here. I'm pretty sure their ears were burning over at St. Anthony, as we had got this letter that was sent out to St. Anthony parents, and we want to bring the principal Robert Crisostomo on to the show here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
How you doing? Hi.
Well, we're just I'll just start here. So we get a letter. Well, I'm not a parent of St. Anthony student, but their June 15th letter comes out advising parents that if they know anybody who had been at St. Anthony May 22nd to May 29th, that they may have been exposed to COVID because you guys had somebody test positive. And I guess the first question is, why did it take so long for you guys to notify the parents? I mean, we're talking about a 1 week period from May 22 to May 29th. You guys didn't even put out a letter until June 15th. And that has a lot of people very upset this morning, Principal. They want to send you to the principal's office, but you're probably already there.
That's a very good question, Chris. And let me build the timeline for you. I got notified Friday evening about this potential teacher who got corona, and the school should be closed down until more testing done. If I found out Friday, because I didn't know anything prior to this, and we closed school on Monday, the only time we could have reacted was really the weekend. So that letter went out timely on Monday. The school was closed. So I think the question here is, why did public health take so long to inform me that one of my teachers was actually contracted the coronavirus? That's troubling to me, because as soon as they test and they get the results, inform me. I could have taken action immediately. So that's where we are with this situation. And I just want to set the record straight, because there's a lot of rumors going around on this one issue. The letter went out to inform our community that the school will be closed until we do massive testing, and we're encouraging all teachers to come in and get tested on Thursday. And that also includes the parish workers here at the church. And I also want to add that one of the comments was someone was mandating teachers report to work. That's so false. Teachers are on summer break. There's no reason for them to come in. So I don't know where that came from.
Are staff are staff being told to come to work, Principal?
The staff's not coming to work. I told them, I had a staff meeting yesterday on Zoom, and I said I was coming in. I'm here right now in the office, closing out some things that we need to do to open school in the coming weeks. So a lot of things have to happen. One of the things I directed my nurse to do was get in touch with public health and get a written notification of one of my employees who contracted the virus and recommendations on what to do, because everything on Friday was verbal. I didn't receive any formal notification from public health. And, that's the way the protocol is. I suggest they change it and make it an official notification with a timely, with a timestamp on it to notify the employers or the people affected. Easily, I could have taken action on this as soon as I was notified, and the action taken was Friday afternoon. I didn't even get the full story till Monday.
Wow, so you're pulling public health under the bus with you.
Well, if that's where they need to be, answer up, man, because I'm here as the principal. I'm ready to open school, and I'm getting late information from them through my nurse and through my assistant principal.
Mm-hmm.
I need a formal notification, and that's the way they should operate.
Mm-hmm.
You should have put that in your letter. You should have been like, Lanat, Public Health, they only told me yesterday.
So you only found out from Public Health that an employee had tested positive on Friday?
I was notified by my assistant principal Friday afternoon when we were about to close the doors. And then I found out also that this person was tested the week before. So why the delay of 1 week? You know, the school can only do and act on information it gets, credible information from Public Health. I don't even like acting on a phone call from somebody I didn't even validate.
Was this someone from the contact tracing team, principal?
I didn't get contacted, but my nurse called back to validate the information.
What about the teacher? Do you feel at any point the teacher should have been like, "Hey guys, I got COVID"?
Yeah, you were saying that the teacher knew about the results a week before the school had actually been
tested a week before.
Right.
So,
but was that test result? Does it take like a week to get the test result?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know when the result came back.
Yeah. And you know, those are the specifics I need to know.
Yeah.
And then there's a HIPAA requirement. They can't divulge that information. All they can tell me is someone got or contracted the coronavirus from your faculty. The specifics about that, there's violations of privacy disclosing that. So he or she can't be revealed by Public Health.
Right.
But I'm glad they called on Friday. I wish they called a week earlier so we could close school down and get this thing addressed.
Mm-hmm. So you said, okay, so the timeline, it would be you found out on the 12th. So
I found out Friday.
Right,
yes,
the
Friday
12th.
afternoon.
And but you said that that this person, this teacher, was tested a week before, which is the 5th. From what I understand, on the 3rd, just a couple days before that, there was a ceremony at St. Anthony's, the graduation event.
Yes, we had a graduation event.
Was that teacher at the graduation event, and have you made further
No,
efforts?
she said, nope, she was not at that event.
Right.
Just to clarify, yes, she was not at that event, period.
Mm-hmm. But we don't know if this teacher, though, had contact with other teachers or students that may have been at that event.
Bingo, Sabrina.
No, and that's why Public Health has to do the contact tracing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what are you going to say to the parents and the students out there who are listening and who are now maybe having anxiety that, A, they may have either been exposed when they came in to pay their tuition or, you know, pick up whatever they got to pick up, or B, we're thinking about, hey, I want my kid to go to St. Anthony, but, I don't know about all this COVID stuff.
Yeah, and you know, it's pretty sad that this virus and pandemic is actually driving how we have changed our lives in the last couple of weeks and months. You know, I just want to tell the parents that we're doing everything we can to keep our students safe, to open with a safe environment here at school. This Thursday, we're actually going to have mass testing going on from 9 to 12 over here by the church, St. Anthony Church, encouraging all our teachers, because I can't mandate they come in and get tested, but I think it's prudent if we ask them to do a TB test before they start teaching. I think they should do a COVID, a corona test prior to entering the classroom with the students. And, you know, there's also the asymptomatic people. I'm not a doctor, but I've certainly been listening and following the pandemic. People with asymptomatic symptoms don't display fevers, coughing, cold, and they walk around normal like they're okay, and they are. The problem is they're just carrying the virus. And that's the problem. Are we going to be dictated by these restrictions? We're wearing our masks. I even ordered face shields for all the students at the school, on the school's dime, so that we can give out face shields on top of the mask that they're going to be wearing. And we're going to maintain social distancing. We're going to offer remote learning. So the parents, if you don't feel comfortable with sending your kids to St. Anthony face-to-face with the teacher in the classroom, we are offering remote learning. And we're going to stream live the lessons in the class, the teacher's teaching, as if the student was in class. So there's 2 platforms we're unveiling next year. Face-to-face, because some parents have to go to work. Students have to come to school. So we're offering that as an alternative. I think St. Anthony is a very safe school. This one teacher contracting the virus is not a game changer. We will do everything we can, and every advice CDC and public health can give us to make the situation a safer place.
Well, I wonder if public health is going to, or if in the contact tracing, if they found out that there were any other times that, significant groups of people could have been exposed to this teacher, and other than in the school setting. Because I know that's part of their contact tracing, is that they're probably asking this teacher, well, obviously you were at St. Anthony May 22nd and May 29th. Where'd you go other than that? Did you go to a gathering? Did you go here? Did you go,
I mean, plus, there was no classes during this.
Right. So what kind of traffic did you get during the week of May 22nd and May 29th, Robert?
Traffic parents coming in?
Yeah,
Yeah, very few. As you know, school's about to start maybe in a month. We're looking at starting hopefully in July, if we get selected to be one of the schools to pilot the program for opening, but we haven't heard, and I think that's through public health. Well, we probably won't get selected now. So,
well, you guys are having a rough week.
Yeah,
with
I wanted to
St.
find out if
Anthony.
it was going to push back the start in July, this whole incident, but I guess,
all indications are, and I have to wait because public health, the governor's executive order, are all hurdles that we have to overcome prior to opening. I don't think any school is going to open if those restrictions are still in place. As much as we want the kids to come back to school, they lost already 3 to 5 months worth of lessons. To hold them back any longer, there's going to be a real deficit in education. And this pandemic is the cause of it.
Yeah, I gotta say the distance learning, it was difficult.
Not really working out.
It was
not really working out. Bree, let me hold my beer. I'm sorry, Sabrina's a parent of a St. Anthony's student, and
he knows.
She has a full-time job here that's like super full-time, and so she has also become a full-time teacher, and I only know because I see it.
The Zoom classes, I have to say that it changed the game a little bit, but it's only for 1 hour. So when I come home, he's like, "Hey, can you show me how to do this?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what you're doing."
Do you get a lot of complaints?
What page is this?
Robert, do you get a lot of complaints from parents who feel like, "Man, we're paying this tuition, but we're the ones doing the teaching"? I'm pretty sure you hear that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Chris, Sabrina, and you're a parent. Brock is in the 5th grade.
Don't be taking it out on Brock now, all right?
I even know our class.
He's a great student. No, that packet 1, I have to say, because we were thrown right into it, the burden fell on the parents. Absolutely. I have to admit that. Packet 2, when we sent it out and we engaged Zoom and students had to come online, that helped out. And we found out that there's a happy medium between those two, and that's why we're doing the live streaming of teachers teaching in the class. It's not 1 hour anymore. It's actually going to be the full day, and the kids on remote are going to be logging on. They can't turn their camera off because that teacher has to see that student and they have to participate. That's the beauty of the program. Now, this is all theoretical because we haven't tried it yet.
Right.
We have 2 pilot classes going on in June on Zoom. We actually have the 7th going to 8th grade and 8th grade going to 9th grade math and reading classes going on all day on Zoom. So it's been working out. Teachers have gotten good feedback from it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to say the Packin' one though was a
Oh,
blur.
That was a doozy.
It was a blur to me.
Let me
I don't
tell you.
even know what was going on.
I
and
heard
then
all
Packet
about
2,
Packet 1.
Then I started getting into it with the Zoom. I was like, okay, I think you could do Zoom.
By the time she gets Packet 3, I think she's going to send her application out to all the schools.
Hey, I got to say, at least we did throw up the white flag and march and say we give up.
Yeah.
Hey, we kept going at it, and I think we ended up with a great product opening up the school year.
All right, Robert.
All right.
Thanks for calling in. Good to hear from you. And, again, like I said, tough week from the Fiesta, the St. Anthony. And I sent my mom that video, Bree, and it's just like I told you. She was like, when I sent it yesterday, she was like, Biba San Antonio. And then this morning around 5 a.m., I got a WhatsApp message. My mom was like, caps lock, Christopher, why didn't you tell me that the statue of St. Anthony fell down? Boy, I was watching that video with all my friends, and we almost had a heart attack, Christopher.
Hey, Chris, you need to call Polly Mike on that.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, Robert.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, good luck. Get
Thank
tested.
you. Guys have a nice day.
You
All
too.
right.
Wash your hands.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 9:37. It is containing COVID. We're gonna take just a really quick break and come back.
Public health has some explaining to do.
Yeah. Well, 9:38. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 Virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Brands like Anheuser-Busch, Aloha Made, Continental, Fiji Water, Huggies, Ziploc, and so much more. Reminding you, we are all one team. Ambrose Inc. Since 1949. Generations serving Micronesia.
And Guam's favorite, Containing COVID, proudly brought to you by Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, the Bank of Guam, and Calvo Enterprises. Good morning. 9:41. You know, I want to bring our a good friend, Victorious Falan, onto the show. Of course, wonderful DJ here at I-94. But you've been doing this One Micronesia podcast, Vic, and I think it's just so great. And this is something that, you know, we've done, and you really ran the point of it. And I guess just first of all, how important has it been and how fun has it been for you to do this One Micronesia podcast? Because it's got so much interaction and reaction from people. It's just something that I think our island really needs. It's positive. It builds bridges between our communities. So how important is that, doing that podcast to you, Vic?
What's up, guys? Good morning. Honestly, it's been fun. It's been a ride so far. Like, I don't know, I think we've had like 22 episodes down so far. I know everybody who I've interviewed has had a great time to come on. I think it's a great time to kind of really shed the light on the positive side of things. I know we've seen over the past many years that, you know, all that we've seen about is FSM, the FAS community, is all that's been on the news, and like people getting in trouble and stuff, but nobody's really seen the other side where people are working 9-to-5 jobs, people are doing really good work in the community that nobody's really seen. So I think that the podcast was a really good way to just sit down with these individuals and really just break it down and just go through their lives and talk about their struggles and stuff. I think it's really been fun, you know, to hear other people's point of view rather than just myself and what I think.
Right,
to hear other FAS citizens out there who have their own way, their own experiences here in Guam.
Right, and I think, you know, all of your podcasts since you started it, they've all been meaningful, insightful, inspirational. And for me, the one you did over the weekend, I almost cried. It was so good. And people really need to watch this one. So great job on that. I messaged you after. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I even messaged Chris. I was like, oh my gosh, this is fire. You really need to watch this.
Hey, man, Vic, I'm so proud of you, dude. I mean, we go way back to Yap. And, I mean, this guy wanted to be on the radio so bad that he came to Guam. And, I mean, he basically interned here for a year, you know, until we had an opening. And just so dedicated. And I really love it because there's so many other people like you. I mean, not just in the FAS and the FSM, but all over, right? And I think it's just a great testament to you got a shot, you made the most of it, and, you know, we always want to bring everyone up with us, right? And that's just the island way. And so now that you got that slot you're using it in a way that is healing people, that is enlightening people, that is starting conversations that, you know, maybe even a year ago, Vic, 2 years ago, we didn't want to have. Because it's one thing for us to talk about the FAS and the FSM community, but when the conversation is going on inside that community and it's positive and, it, you know, it's a lot of self-examination, I think like Bree said, I mean, God, I was almost going to cry thinking about this poet that you had brought on. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. I got a great clip that we're going to play from your One Micronesia podcast where you interviewed Jojo Area. Can you tell us a little bit about Jojo?
Set it up.
Yeah. Let's set it up because you know the clip. So go ahead, Vic.
So I first saw the poem going around on the Instagram, and honestly, to be honest, I skipped it like 3 times, but then it kept coming up because a lot of people kept posting it. And it wasn't only just FAS citizens, our fellow brothers and sisters here in Guam were posting it as well. So I was like, what is this thing? What is this graphic that people are showing? So I finally stopped and I read it, and I think halfway through it just opened my eyes, and if Bree says she almost cried, I cried too because I read through there and I was like, wow, this is really it's real, and what she's talking about it's something that we're experiencing on a daily, and I thought, I think this is a great time to bring her up to talk about these things, especially what's happening around the world. So I think it was the perfect moment to address her poem, and I think it had a great message behind it.
It was like about hiding, you know, your culture, right, and being ashamed
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could play it, I think people will
man,
know
Vic,
what we're talking about.
Yeah, and before we go, and I just want to say that the DOE, they've had these outreaches where they bring up students from FAS and FSM communities, and they talk about the discrimination, they talk about the teasing, they talk about being ashamed of their culture, and it's very tragic. And I got to commend you and JoJo for going in on this, and we're going to play the clip now. This is from One Micronesia podcast here. You can find them all over the Edward R. Murrow award-winning social media networks. And I like to think that, you know, this podcast, this is one of the reasons why we won that Edward R. Murrow award-winning social media.
Yeah.
award.
And, you know, we partnered with Manyetlu for this podcast, and we actually started it following the Mangilao
machete attacks, right? And this, the as you remember, I know you guys know, the conversation after those attacks, it was so divisive. I mean,
and Nadine Sangeni, she spoke at that first town meeting in Mangilao, and
goosebumps.
Yeah, I had to reach out to her, and you know, and even Manyetlu to tell her about this idea. And I spoke with Vic, and we just took it and ran with it.
Right, and here we are, 22 episodes later. Good job, Vic.
Good job, Vic. So proud of you.
Guys.
I think we're going to have two COVID heroes today. I'm going to play it now, Vic. Are you crying?
No, I'm just about to get tested here in Peden.
Oh, okay. All right. He's doing the COVID testing.
Oh, so you're just getting something swabbed up your nose. You're not crying.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my
Thanks,
excuse,
Vic.
too. Right. There's a little Finideni in my eye. 9:47 again, this clip from the One Micronesia podcast.
So ladies and gentlemen, here to talk with us is Jojo Araya. Is that how you say your last name?
Sorry, Area.
Area, sorry. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Let's get straight into the poem, because I think from there on,
sure.
we can venture off with questions and stuff.
Okay, so Tsuki Confessions, number 1. I was told to not wear it once I get to my destination, Guam, where America's Day begins, and where many FSM people have come to call home. I was advised to hide it, that the Tsuki will attract negative attention, a colorful X begging to be looked at, ridiculed, maybe even prompt feelings of disgust. The Tsuki was relegated to the back of my dorm closet, while jeans, shorts, and trendy Western clothes received special attention. I took pride in my ability to hide my Chukisness by donning these Western clothes, even smiled from ear to ear when strangers remarked on my non-Chukis ways. I discouraged my sisters to wear the Tsuki in public. They'll know you're Chukis. Don't. We drive on the road and shake our heads in disappointment when we see fellow Chukis women wearing their Chuki proudly, the colors standing out against the sun like our brown skins stand out against the prized white skin of modern Micronesian society. It was planned, carefully orchestrated so that strangers would not put me in that category. Micronesian, Chukis, yuck. Why did I plan it so, you ask? Because of racial slurs on a bathroom wall, stares and eye rolls while lining up at the grocery store, looks of cold appraisal from strangers not happy with the colorfully embroidered piece of clothing and what it represented to them, troublemakers, baby machines, food stamp welfare draining parasites. While I strove to hide my Chukisness under layers of Western clothing, my Chamorro sisters and brothers were actively engaged in the revival of their culture. They wore it proudly in their sanahi, wore it with a plumeria tucked behind their ear in front of waves of long black hair. They wore it in tattoos proclaiming their roots. They burst with love and pride for their Chamorro culture. The juxtaposition between these two images speak volumes about the society we have created. Is it possible for a Micronesian to be something more than her SNAP card, her Section 8 housing, or her colorfully embroidered muumuus and tsuki? What do we say to our children? Do we teach them that there is a great big world full of diverse peoples and cultures? Or do we urge them to hide their chuki, themselves, and their heritage? Do we teach them to fear the repercussions of being unabashedly Micronesian?
Wow. Like I said from the beginning, like it's such a powerful and inspiring piece of work, you know. So it took your writing to kind of open our eyes again, because at one point the Micronesian people here on Guam were kind of like you said, we had to fit in, so we wore this blanket over us, or we wore this new clothes or this new mask to fit into a society where we shouldn't. Like you said, we should what's the word I'm looking for? We should embrace our culture no matter where we go, because our cultures are our identity. Without our cultures, we are just, you know, it's like we're a man with no house. We're just a man with no name. So to those who don't know what a chuki is, what's a chuki?
Right. So a chuki is the skirt that, I hope that a lot of people have seen it, where, you know, young women or women, chukis women, wear the skirt with there's a lot of really colorful embroidery all around. It's kind of like the trademark go-to outfit for chukis women.
At the beginning, you said you were told not to wear it.
Yes. That was the advice that I got from everybody. My parents, you know, my family didn't live there a lot. Maybe like a visit when I was very, very young. But so for my parents to tell me, like, you know, hide your culture, hide who you are because you're going to Guam. I think that spoke very much to how even back home, we kind of really accepted what other people were saying about Chukis people out in Guam. So the advice was always like, for me to stay away from that Chukis identity that I, you know, obviously have. And it was all because of things that we read in the news, pretty much, you know, without even ever living in Guam.
The other thing too was, you know, in your poem you stated that you were told not to wear it, and then now you're in Guam, and then now when you see, because you're trying to hide or to try to fit in, as you said, into society, that but when you see other people wear it in the streets, even you become kind of disappointed at them, at other, you know, fellow Micronesians who are wearing it. So, you know, it's one thing for you to accept, like, to fit in, but then when that whole idea changes, becomes this mindset that, you know, don't do it, you know, because, you know, you're gonna get an X on your back, and you get disappointed because they keep wearing it because you just want to fit in. I think that says a lot about, you know, what has gotten to, you know, where we're telling our kids or telling our children to hide who they are, to fit in, you know. And I think that's something that's not, that's bad, and it's not, you know, the right way to go. And I want to get to this part in your poem towards the end, where you said, where you were finally fitting in, and you looked around you, and you see your fellow brothers and sisters from Guam, your Chamorro brothers and sisters, active in reviving their cultures, while at the same time you were told to hide yours because it was bad. You saw another group of people rise up because they want to revive their own culture. What does that say to you? Like, what do you feel that?
I don't know how to really explain that part where I said, you know, my Chamorro brothers and sisters are actively reviving their culture. It's more just, I think that's what also really helped me see how unfair and how, racial discrimination has just, it's such an evil cancer in this world.
And honestly,
I'm
it
so
is.
sorry.
You're good. No, look, I think when I read that part of your poem, I think this is what comes to me. This is what I think of it. So I think when I look at this, you're like, well, it's not fair that I'm putting
That
my
is
Chuki down.
Very true. Yes.
And then you're practicing your cultures. Like, can we do it at the same time? Can we do it together? Let's share this culture, because it might be different, but we're all from Micronesia, and it's the diverse Micronesian cultures. Okay, well, thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Before I let you go, and you can't speak Chuukese, you can. What's a message that you will tell your fellow Chuukese? Like, what's that message that you would tell them?
I just want to say, I don't get it to medicine. I thought not met that medicine. To kids may dog that medicine because I thought kids may dog. As I put that very dead kids are took, yes, you she say make it, kids may make it, kids may pussy, but a good non native kids may agarrate, kids may debate, kids may dog. She said, give up, she puts a cat kids.
All right, there you go. Amazing clip there.
Yeah, you can watch his podcast. It's streaming now on our Facebook page, and it's definitely going to be something to watch for sure. It's about 45 minutes long.
Right. Don't just watch this one. There are 21 other great episodes where Victorious, I mean, this is a whole other side. Have you guys have heard him on the radio? Have you seen him on our I-94 Instagram and with Uno? I mean, I've loved working with him over the years, and he's just a guy that just gets everything, and so to see him in this format, I mean, it's awesome. That's what, as an entertainer, you always want to have that part of you that's, socially conscious, socially aware. And I think that's what we're seeing with Vic and this One Micronesia podcast.
Right.
All right. Hey, on that note, let's go to a good note here. We always try and end the show every day with someone who's doing good things on the island of Guam. And today we want to bring on Dan from Southern Mountain Gear. Dan, we're going to pop these pictures up. Good morning, Chris and Sabrina. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're going to throw these pictures up, and I guess you just take us to the beginning, Southern Mountain Gear. You guys had an was it a virtual elevation challenge, and you also were able to raise some money for people who need it. So we'll just give you the floor here. You got a few minutes to take us from the beginning to the end, Dan.
Awesome. So obviously with the COVID-19 hitting our island pretty hard, there's a lot of people that have kind of hunkered down in their houses. And as an outdoor gear shop, we wanted to do some kind of a challenge to get people outside, get them active again. So we proposed this 14er challenge. A 14er and stateside is a name for a 14,000-foot mountain peak. Obviously, we don't have any of those here on Guam. So we said, let's do this as a virtual challenge, $20 to sign up, and then all proceeds can go to a couple of really great causes. The event was to climb 14,000 feet in 7 days. If you finished, then the shop donated some plaques to the finishers, and it just ended up being a really awesome event. We raised $1,040 for the Heart Foundation, which is an animal rescue group, Happily Ever After, and the Learn Chamorro project. My buddy Troy is working on an app for learning Chamorro language. So couple neat causes, and we're just really happy about the event. It ended up turning out great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm just wondering here, 14,000 feet in 7 days. How many mountains on Guam do you got to climb? Like, what do you got to climb? Like 50 mountains to make 14,000 feet? What's the conversion?
So Mount Lam Lam is like 1,020 feet, 1,028 feet. So that would be like starting down at the coast,
right,
and climbing all the way up, say the Seti 7 waterfalls, and then continuing all the way up to Mount Lam Lam, and then doing that about 14 times in a week. So that would be twice a day.
You down, Bree?
What's that?
He was asking if I was down.
I mean, I can start from the road, dude, but to start from the coast, like, what? Who's trying to do that?
14 times twice in a day?
Twice a day, yeah.
Okay, well, you have Kmart Hill here. What about that?
Yeah.
How many times is that?
We've actually run that. That's a little.
There's been people that got all 14,000 feet on Kmart Hill that week, and I don't know how many times they did it, but it must have been in the hundreds.
100 times a day?
Yeah.
How many feet is that, I wonder?
I don't know. You know, there was a guy named Alex Kranz. He went from PD Cemetery all the way up to Turner Road. He did that. He did it in an 8 or 10 hour time period. He did it 28 times, and he knocked out all 14,000 feet in just a single day.
This is a cool little challenge, man, because it's something we don't really think. I mean, everybody does miles, right? Running, we got that. You know what I mean? But right. Elevation, the challenges, I've never thought about it, and
that hurts.
I don't know if I'm ready to climb Mount Lamb 14 times, but you know, baby steps.
I'm not ready to climb JFK Hill. What are you talking about?
You can't even climb the stairs.
So, real quick, can I just talk about 2 new virtual events that are popping up over the next couple weeks? So the first one is with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Southern Mountain Gear is partnering with Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they're going to be doing a virtual race, which starts on the 29th of this month, goes through July 5th. And that event is, you can sign up for either the 5K, 10K, 20K, or 50K in 1 week. So 50K is 30 miles over a course of a week. It's a $30 entry fee, and you can get a dry wicking T-shirt for that. And all the proceeds are going to go to Make-A-Wish Foundation. And then also we're partnered with with Urban Fitness for an event called the Go the Distance Challenge in the month of July. And that will be your choice of discipline: either swim 30 miles, run 100 miles, or bike 300 miles. And all the proceeds from that event are going to buy more PPE for frontliners and nurses for the island.
Did you say that's a week or a year? What was the time?
How about a lifetime?
That's 1 month, in the month of July.
Oh,
1 month, okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you guys? No, I got to laugh. I'm looking at your press release here, Dan, and it says, there's a quote here from Anne-Marie Gowell, a finisher of the challenge. There was a funny sense of commiseration, but also community. That's so true. It just reminds me of running, and they're like, I hate this. I hate it too. Okay, we're in it together. Go team.
Everyone was miserable for that week, for sure.
Good. Right on. Okay. Hey, you guys got a social media or something? Because this is the first I heard of. It's a gear shop, but if people want to kind of check out what you guys are doing, or maybe get into some hiking or whatever.
Yeah, check out our Instagram at Southern Mountain Gear, one word. We have a Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel, and also swing by the shop. We're in Skinner Plaza, 2nd floor above Submarina in Agana.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Dan. And again, we wanted to get you on here to recognize the good work you're doing, and it sounds like it's a lot of fun too, and that's why you're our COVID hero for the day. Thank you.
Awesome, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care, Dan.
Take it easy. All right, 10:04. Well, that's a good show today, Sabrina.
Great show.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It is what it is. Okay.
Bum.
Hey, Jacob, thank you for the Mango Bucci run. And also Ken Sanity. Most importantly, though, thank you to our listeners. Hey, you guys got questions? You got concerns? Message us. We're all over social media. Throw it in the comments. For the most part, I always try and have one eye. Mm-hmm. If you see me go Keaton, it's because I got one eye on the comments over here. We try and keep track and get the info for you guys. It's kind of like what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Okay.
And before we go, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Guam Census people. They were out and about. They stopped by my house yesterday and just were like, hey, aren't you? And I was like, oh, yeah. And they're like, oh, we listened to the show. Good job.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say hi to the Guam Census and be safe out there.
I bet people are kind of happy to see them, especially who've been just holed up in your house for 3 months. I mean, maybe before COVID, no one was rushing to do a 40-minute census interview, but I could just see people now like, come in. Yeah, hey, how have you been? So, yeah, where'd you go? Here's some coffee. All right. Hey, 10:05. Again, Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. Proud to present Containing COVID to you guys every weekday from 6 to 10-ish a.m. Our KUAM TV 11 viewers, thank you guys so much. For Sabrina, my name is Chris.
Joe.
Yeah, my name is Chris. Adios.
Bye.
Guam Visitors Bureau.